So we're going to put these teams, these roster changes from the off-season into different categories. You got blockbuster, must-see in cinemas, watching just once, straight to DVD, or it's a flop. Now, let me start off proceedings here by putting Cloud9 in blockbuster.
Oh, yeah,
Do I have
well.
anybody who wants to bother with any form of a retaliation here?
Best esports odds, VIP program and a variety of bonuses, fast and easy withdrawals, bet on every possible CSGO match and tournament, as well as any other esports game. Only on 22Bet.
It's a good vibe, train, 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 train. It's a good vibe, train, 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 train. It's a good vibe, train, 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 train. Good vibe, train, yeah.
Welcome to another episode of HLTV Confirmed. We are back with another week. High energy, because we couldn't have planned this any fucking better. Blast for the day just came to its conclusion that we all expected. Obviously, NIP taking down Vitality 2-0 to time the episode of HLTV Confirmed that you're going to be watching tonight. You know, you get a bit of a buffer, you run to the bathroom, you grab yourself a bit of a sandwich, and then you whack yourself back in front of the PC ready to get this one underway. So welcome to another episode. We've got Striker. You can see him down there. Well, he's next to me. He's on one side of me. I'm not sure which side, but he's here. Prof's not here. We've lost him. We've actually sent Lucas, who's actually back producing. Lucas, you were out last couple of episodes searching for Prof. He's been lost. We sent you out on a great fact-finding mission. Have you got any clues on maybe where Prof's gotten off to? Okay, well, at least you tried. We got to appreciate that. We got Bubzkji joining us tonight. You know, Bubzkji, if you're not familiar with him, once upon a time, you know, well, actually, I don't want to count you out of it here, Bubzkji. I don't want to say you can't get back in the server. You're still a young lad, but a fragger, a body bagger, a toe tagger, a big name, a bit of a pugger. I wanted to ask you some pug etiquette questions tonight, Bubzkji. Have you been in the server still, or have you taken a bit of a hiatus in summertime, mate?
It's just 1 hour past 2 weeks on my account, so it's not been that great.
Shit!
Yeah,
he's been enjoying the sun, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it's been great, but like there was a period where I really grinded, where I went for the the FaZe grind.
Yeah, because I remember you making some tweets about it, and I've been playing a bit more CS in this off time.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, mate, but is there any like rulings or any way that you stereotype people when you die to the guy in like headshot only deathmatch who's got the scuba custom skin on or some shit? Because when I see that stuff, I'm so mad, irrationally mad. The custom skins in the pugs, it's winding me up. The green skins on Ancient. How do you feel about that type of stuff?
I've never really had this issue, but I know some players. Yeah, like I know some players, like Snappy. He's like the CSPPA of not having player skins because he has something with the color blindness in his eyes, so he can't really see anything when they actually change.
Yeah, okay. So his is more from like an actual
CSPPA.
Is he the enforcer?
Yeah, like he will always say that when you join the server, and he's like, "I'm not playing if you don't remove it."
Yeah, and I understand. It gets frustrating out there. People trying to get any edge they can, Striker. It's crazy for the ELO out there, man. The numbers. We want the numbers to go up, not down.
I thought it was such an elaborate joke with how he said like he can't see anything, you know, and like that being like a joke on CSPP. And I'm like, where did that come from?
It would have been
such
great.
An elaborate joke.
It's a 2-for-1 right there.
Too bad it's not that.
But Bubzkji, for people who aren't familiar with what you've been up to recently, you've been doing the broadcast on TV too, right? Danish TV?
Yeah, I'm basically doing what you're doing, but just in Danish, right? So it's a little bit different, but I guess we share common grounds in that regard.
Yeah, and that's perfect. We got another shit talker on the show tonight to talk some smack about Counter-Strike and everything that's happened in the last couple of weeks. Were you working today?
No, I'm working tomorrow, but I'm working with Pimp, so I know how to talk a little bit of shit.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, exactly. Well, we're seeing him every day out there as well. Him, Maniac, Freya, they've been having a good time. Blast been back on. You've been watching. I guess you've been watching all of it, Striker, haven't you?
Not 100% all of it, but most of it. Yeah.
peeling off supplies and watching matches. Now, look, guys, tonight, let's focus a little bit forward. We're going to jump into the recent news. Once we go through the recent news, we're going to get into some CS2 stuff. We're going to jump in Vertigo and Overpass, just fly around, quick conversation about that coming into the map pool. We have the Vox Pop. We have some fun stuff that's been built tonight. We're going to do a tier list of all of the roster changes that have happened and early impressions of Blast. I've made something that I was going to say fifth grader, maybe a 5-year-old would be proud of in the Google slides today for everybody to take a look at. And we're even going to have Nero, Harry, call in at some point to talk about, what's changed with some of these teams, maybe the positions, like NAVI, for example, is it what he expected? Because we know he's been taking some deeper dives with stats like that. So we got a lot to get through, a lot to bounce to, and we might try and keep it a bit snappier. So Lucas, roll the bumper. Let's get into the recent news. Now, look, we're just getting reports here that Lucas's mic didn't work on stream. So we're hoping in the VOD it's there because, we really want to get...
definitely didn't. It didn't work on the VOD.
Okay. That's a shame. He tried to do a bit. It was a good bit. I'm glad he played along, and it's unfortunate that we couldn't hear him. So maybe next week, Lucas, we'll see if we get you back in the producing chair. Okay. Let's dive around here. Now, these first ones out the gate are to do with the roster finalizations, the last couple coming through the gates here just as we get the season back underway. We obviously were waiting on a couple to come through Striker. Now we've had Monte GamerLegion, Virtus.pro, and Cloud9 come through all of their finalizations. I don't want to stick too long on these because we will be talking about them later on with the tier list, right? Because they'll be in some of the teams that changed rosters. But what is the headline out of all of this for you? Is there anything that sticks out? Anything that you feel you want to breach with these now? Obviously, we've got GamerLegion bringing in Nealon from EG. That's a bit of an interesting one, and Volt as well from Into the Breach. Virtus.pro with the MIBR edition, and that's Kick It now on the market. So which one of these? Any of these tickling your fancy?
I mean, I guess it has to be the Bro one, just because he's another guy who's coming up through the academy circuit from Astralis talent. And like the way I was looking at him, it's not like I'm super well versed on how that guy plays or whatever, but I was looking through his stats and it just didn't look like he was particularly a one-to-one replacement for Boros. He's not nearly as aggressive, not really used in those positions. So I'm curious about how that's going to work out. Just
Bro is Danish, right? Yeah. What do you know about him, Bubzkji? You got all the research on him? You got all the dirt sheets?
He was an interesting prospect back in the days when I was like coming up. He was actually still in the scene, but he had like a kind of bad aura around him. So he actually went international. I think he went to Saudi Arabia for a period.
I remember seeing his name before, right? In the last couple of years.
He played for some Saudi Arabia or Dubai type org for some money for a period. And then Astralis went for it anyway and just picked him up because obviously he had talent. And I guess he's been dominating the Danish league in some time, and it was time for a step up.
Okay. Do you think he's a type of player that can replace Boros and keep Monty where they were, or what do you think about that?
I think he can maybe bring some of the Danish qualities of being really vocal, and so I think Boris is a little bit of a player that will just aim out everyone, not maybe make the sickest calls or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to see with some of these here. We'll talk more about them as we go further in the show. Obviously, Cloud9 as well. They finalized the roster, bringing in Perfecto alongside of Electronic, and Nafany's out. And Nafany, actually, we could talk about Nafany now because I guess we won't be ranking him in the tier list. Right. Nafany was the one on the way out the door here, and he had, well, I guess Buster as well. But there was was it a twit longer? I don't know what he did, but whatever statement he released, I remember giving that a bit of a read. And seems like it's from a pretty mature perspective, which I think most people would agree with Nafany with the way that he's looking at things and saying, he's a young in-game leader. This is early on, talking about coming up through the academy with Shiro and Axile. So obviously experiencing these things as a unit, and they're obviously not the authority figures when they're in academy team. So reading some of that stuff, I think maybe things that people maybe have overlooked. But yeah, for Nafany going forward, he was linked up with that Chiron Zorti situation, wasn't it? But we haven't heard any more about that, or do we know what's going on? And even still, where are we going to see him play early? Like it'll be online stuff, so it's hard to get excited for a little while because the runway onto the major still a whiles away. So I think it's good for Nafany to have this much experience at this age. But going forward, right now, it's like the climb back into a quote-unquote relevant team, or waiting until the next major window comes around to be able to just earn your spot there and then prove, because otherwise it's really hard, right? Like how are you meant to put your name in the ring at the moment?
I mean, if that lineup comes through, or at least anything close to that, he's going to be fine. Like that's going to be a lineup that's at least going to be competing for spots at big events, and can work their way up. So I don't think he's doing too bad off, at least as long as that works out.
As long as it comes together, right? Well, I guess there's just so many talented players over there. All right. Well, anything anyone else wants to do? Bubzkji, you want to talk about NAVI at all?
I think he was like pretty revolutionary when they started with the Gambit online period. Like the guy called so good. I don't know if it was him calling. I remember playing him back then. They just literally destroyed us every time, and they were by far the best team in the online period, in my opinion. I don't know if it was the dynamic of the way they looked back then, but it was so effective that it caught everyone off guard because Exile was gonna be this on Vertigo, for example. NAVI would like be the guy on ramp, just being annoying. And while he was being annoying, Exile always lurked on B and just killed the guy because NAVI got all the rotations to A. Like it was kind of revolutionary in my opinion back then. But obviously, it didn't work forever, and I think he lacked some development in that regard.
Well, I don't know if it was the origin, like with that smoke that was thrown off the wall, like to go into yellow to create that one way, but we would always call it the NAVI smoke, right?
Yes.
Like when we were playing and trying to replicate that, and that's to what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, also just like him being super annoying. Like obviously there was this sometimes in CS back then, like when we have to default, we have to do everything together, nobody do anything, like we have to flash every angle, and he was just like kind of like a young Carrigan, just being kind of ruthless in that regard.
All right. Well, bit of respect there for old NAVI. Be exciting to see a bit more of him in the future. This next one came out of left field, Striker. Player break.
Even to FaZe, it seems.
Yeah. So RobbaN at the end of the break has decided that he is going to quit coaching. That one I think has taken everybody by surprise, as you mentioned, even FaZe. So what do you make of this, Striker? Do you think this is just, oh, hey, he's in the player break, he's had time with the family and whatnot, and he's made a decision, hey, I'm done? Like, what do you make of all this?
From the way that he was talking about it, he already has something lined up, and from that, it seems like something just came up that gave him an opportunity to jump into, and that is what caused this decision. I don't know what it is. It's not like I've tried to dig into or anything. I mean, I'm sure it's something we're going to hear about at some point in the future, but it seems like one of those cases where he just got an opportunity to do something cool, I'm guessing, and then that means he has to quit coaching.
I know a lot of these coaches actually want to be sports directors at some point, like because they want to have some control over the team and like impact the performance of the team in that regard, but they don't want to travel 200 days a year when they get a kid. So it's kind of the balance.
Okay. So yeah, if he's able to pursue a new, well, isn't there all the rumors around like TSM and stuff at the moment?
For example, I could easily see him slot in there.
Yeah, okay. I mean, could be something like that, obviously. But just generally, I mean, he was also a guy who did that previously, who took that, I don't know what it was, like a 2-year break from coaching when he was like just managing and not traveling with them so much. So that could be one of those things for sure.
All right. And we got wind of who the replacement, at least for one event, is going to be. Neo is going to be coaching FaZe at Cologne, right? So apparently I haven't watched it, but was there an interview with Carrigan where he was asked about this? I know that. I mean,
he obviously kind of dodged it. He just said something like, "I guess we'll see," or something like that. I don't think, or at least not that unless there was something else that you're referring to. But on Blast, he was asked pretty point blank and just dodged the question.
Okay. Well, this right here, I guess, like Neo, obviously we know that he's had his time in FaZe before, and then the legendary player that he is with the 1.6 and his time in CSGO and everything. So we know he's got the mind for the game, but he's always a very nice guy, right? Like Neo is always a very pleasant, very nice guy. So to have him there behind the team, it's a familiar person. It's somebody who I'm sure, Carrigan would probably be happy to bounce like ideas and get input from, and somebody he respects as well, because Carrigan has such a long history in this game, and so does somebody like Neo. So I'm sure
he was playing against Neo like fucking 13 years ago, man.
Yeah, right. So this one here, I don't think this is where people maybe would have expected them to turn. But Bubzkji, what do you make of Neo getting the call up to be this figure, at least for one event, an important event like Cologne as well?
I mean, it obviously slows. There's a lack of proven coaches out there. Like, there's not many who we can say are like GOATs or like high-profile coaches. Maybe we can say Sonic and Blade, but RobbaN was maybe also going into that category. But I just remember that Sonic told me that what he thinks is a good coach is 1, he has to motivate people, 2, he has to fix social issues, and 3, he has to be creative with the game plans and so on. If you can tick all those 3 boxes, I think you're going to be like going pretty good. And I know Neo is definitely a like motivating person because he's like elderly and he has a lot of respect around him. So I think that would work really well. Obviously, I'm not sure how updated he is with the meta, like in that regard.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, right? But that's where I imagine a lot of these you know, you look at Carrigan being the in-game leader of the team, you go, okay, so maybe he doesn't need to be as up to date on like the macro or maybe all the little details of, but if they were to use him long term, he could catch up. And in the beginning, he's more of that figure for the team to help bring things together. Because that's obviously a big part of what RobbaN did as well, right? Like we know that he was good for the team. It seemed like when they were in the boot camps and stuff, always a good guy for setting up the mood over there. So this will be, well, we'll have to wait for it to be confirmed in Cologne. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's not there. Maybe they just put him down. It's all a bit of a ruse. You never know.
That's actually how I was thinking about it for a time, because I thought I heard about it, I don't know, just before it came out from, I think it was Dusty US who posted about it first, and I heard about it on that day or just like the previous night or something, and I was like trying to dig into it, and the way that people talked to me about it, it was like, I don't think Neo would do that. I don't think Neo wants to like go back on the travel thing. Just didn't seem like very plausible. So I was like, this is just an elaborate ruse from FaZe, just signing up somebody random and just like telling him, hey, we signed you up for Cologne. Just keep going with it. Just don't really say anything, you know? So, I mean, I think it is like legitimate enough that he's actually going to be there. How long-term this is, or if it's just a trial, what exactly is the thinking? I'm not 100% sure.
A bit of a mystery, but that tends to be a lot of the cases with coaches, right? I know there was discourse after the RobbaN announcement, right? You know, like, okay, well, you know, what do coaches even do? What did it even do for the team? And that's the thing, right? I think the best way for us to measure it is if players are talking highly of their coach on a frequent basis, then that's probably a good thing to look towards, right? I think if, you know, the players don't think the coach is very good, then they're probably not going to speak very highly of them in the interviews.
So, I mean, that's how it works, in my opinion. Obviously, there's been a lot of coaches got a lot of credit for a lot of stuff, but I don't think it's necessarily fair if the players, sometimes if you ask the players, was this guy a good coach, and they will say like, he didn't really do anything. Like
they're never going to say that. That's the
problem.
No,
but in private,
not to you.
Not
yeah,
to
exactly.
You, bro, because you're going to make a report.
Yeah, I think I've heard that a couple of times as well. Yeah, it doesn't make to the headlines by any means.
Usually, I hear it from other people who talk to them. You know, it's like he doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, yeah. It's always at the bar, like the night after the hard loss or some shit. All right. We'll keep it moving because we can jump back into any of this stuff that's to do with the teams, especially as we talk through the show. We're going to have multiple pit stops here where we can talk about FaZe again through Blast. And I guess, no, well, they're not going to be on the tier list because they didn't make a roster change. There was still a personnel change, but it wasn't a player change. Okay. The next little bit of news here is Valve opening the proposals for 2025 and 2026. Holy shit. I have to renew my British passport by 2026. Otherwise, I'm fucked. So guys, remember that for me. But the dates have been shifted for the majors come 2025, 2026. It's going to be early June and early December. And there was even a bit of discourse today on Twitter, and one Mr. Uli Schultz was involved in the conversation. I probably should make sure I have this tweet standing by before I am quoting it. But
the plan is for the summer break not to change. So both summer and winter break will start right after each major.
Yeah, but your tweet, it was to you, right? And I guess your tweet was alluding to the fact that the Blast World Finals traditionally is the last event after. Was that,
not necessarily. I mean, my point was more about the summer, that's been changing now, or like that changed quite heavily over the past couple of years, and it's not been very clear that that's how it's going to stay. You know, a lot of people the people were complaining about it. So I was just saying that even though these days got moved, maybe it doesn't necessarily mean that they will be at the end of the first major is not going to be at the end of the season necessarily, just because the break could just get pushed by a month, you know, and then there could be a couple more events afterwards. And then he was the one to reply, okay, the plan is for it not to change. Where he's getting that from, I'm assuming there's some fucking leftover from CSPPA who's actually doing something and trying to work out what the breaks are going to be for the upcoming years or whatever.
Or a conversation with Valve though, right? Like, if
I'm sure that's a part of it, yeah.
Because if the conversation for people to Valve has been, hey, put the majors at the end of the season, well, who are the ones who decide when the tournaments are? Well, that's the TOs. So maybe Valve spoke to the TOs and said, hey, when are the end of the season?
Didn't the Flying DJ guy confirm when the player break will end?
Yes, but at the same time, like this is the thing. So what's the authority figure here? Because once upon a time, we would have said that like it would have been the CSPPA deciding on this stuff. But now the CSPPA we know is debunked, which is where we get into this interesting discussion. So if you take what Uli, the Flying DJ, says as gospel, and that is the case, then we can actually, Lucas, can you bring up the calendar slide, please? Look at this. I really love this. It's like I one day, you know, I'm going to give a Counter-Strike lecture or something. I'll make slides for everything. So I don't know if everybody can see this. It's not great. I'll link it in here for you boys so you can actually look at it. It's not even that important, but it's just meant to be a visual representation of how the calendar would look in 2025. So the majors are in orange and the tournament break would be in the gray that I've underlined there. So you can see here, and EliGE actually also got involved in the conversation because Apeks not too happy with when the break is. It doesn't link up with when his friends and family have holidays, which I want to make sure I emphasize his, because this is a key point here that I want to get into with this whole conversation. Now, EliGE is very happy with this. I'm also very happy with the majors being at the end of the seasons. I think it makes a lot of sense. We go straight into the breaks after. It's the climax of our calendar, or as we break it up into the two seasons. And I think by doing this, it also, you know, it helps with the entire flow. It helps with a lot of things. So I'm happy to see this change. It also breaks the year up into these quite even chunks now. So we have like two evenly.
I mean, we already had that happen last year, right? Because of, or
yeah, but this is what you were talking about. People not being happy and wanting to change it back. Now, that conversation obviously is coming from a lot of the European players because, well, the majority of the professional players are European players. But holidays don't link up for all the countries. They don't link up all over the world. For example, I got this crazy one. It's fucking insane. There's this thing, like when you go so far south, you cross this line and then the seasons are flipped. So like in Australia, our long holiday is at Christmas time and our winter holiday is a shorter holiday, right? So anyway, the point I'm getting to here is I know that Apeks and stuff, they're not happy with where it is, but this makes so much more sense from the point of the Counter-Strike and the entertainment, which at the end of the day, this is what this is. And I think other things like Premier League or tennis for when players are like they get 4 weeks holiday a year, the Premier League stuff, I don't even know, like they don't go, hey, we want these time off because we want to go spend time with our kids and stuff because they have school holidays. Yeah, that's not how this works. Like, and also entertainment stuff is normally better when people are on vacation and they can watch more of it, right?
Yeah, obviously that's the case. But I think I don't think they're unnecessarily happy for when the period ends, but it's just because people are not allowed. They realize that they have to practice 1 week before, but that's kind of like, what can the players, what can the tournaments do? Then
they don't have to.
Yeah,
they can just sacrifice their first events, right?
Yeah. I think that should just be more common. Like, and then ESL would also be like, what the fuck is happening? Because EG is winning our first event because they hard grinded over summer, you know. So I think they would like try to find a solution together at some point. But obviously, it's not going to be into 2025 or 26, maybe to 27.
But this is the difference, like in some of this stuff, right? So for Cloud9, for example, they're not a Blast partner team, so they don't come back to the start of this season, like we're seeing right now with the Counter-Strike we're watching and have to play these first 2 weeks. Striker, just before we went live, you're like, fuck, Vitality don't play again until Sunday. Vitality now have like fucking, 3 days on ice?
3 off days, yeah.
Right? So we're not even talking days where they're consistently having to play. So in this situation, these Blast teams, they're going in here that, you know, some of them wanted to practice before because they had new rosters, so they needed to be in somewhat shape for Blast. Some of them maybe played a little bit online and now are doing their main boot camp here. I would imagine for the teams like FaZe, G2, maybe even Vitality a little bit, Heroic, another name, you probably would have played a little bit online before Blast, and then you'd go and you'd play Blast and you'd want to get top 6. You want to secure that, and you should, considering the field. But this is where you're putting in your work for Cologne, which is happening in fucking no time, right? And we're talking about that right now. So in the future, I get it. They're not happy with where the break is, but they're in organizations which sign deals with these tournament organizers that they have to play. Like, and that's it. Like that's why you're getting paid. And like if you have issues with that, take it up with your employer, right? Like that's where I see these. Like take it up with the boss. Like don't take it up with Counter-Strike as a whole or the whole competitive scene.
I just think it's because we are shifting from a player-based ownership inside the teams, like back in 2015 to almost 2020, it was just teams running like, hey, we want these players, we want this guy. But right now there's coming a lot of money and a lot of experienced business people into this space, and they are going to be like, you guys can't control anything. Like, and I just think that's the shift we're going through. And then the future generation of people will never complain because they never experienced what was prior. But the current ones will still, because they were like, hey, we were used to this, but now it's that. But once you get new players, there will be literally just be, it's the same.
This is the thing. If we want to see either like the money get back on another influx, or we want to try and even keep it to levels that it's at right now, like we all know things have to change in certain areas of our game, right? Like in terms of the competitive scene and how things are done. So this one here, I don't know if this is going to, you know, add any more value. Maybe if, like we said, people who are on holidays when tournaments are on. And I swear I've seen like a UFC fight on fucking New Year's Eve before, like in Las
something
Vegas.
like that happened, or
right?
like during like there's some. I don't want to fucking talk out of my ass because I don't actually follow the game, but I think NHL games like take place during the holidays and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think like football games run over Christmas.
Yeah, Boxing Day. There's like the 23 and 25, not 23, 25, 26, 27, there's games. So literally no Christmas Eve for Premier League players. But they also get £200,000 a week. So
yeah, that's true as well. So you reckon if we get to that much money, then we can pull it off?
Then I'll play in the Christmas Eve as well.
I mean,
shit. All right,
doesn't it make sense? We're an entertainment product. We we put on entertainment when people need it.
Yeah, well, no, but look, Lucas, I think it's different for everybody, right? Like everybody wants what's best for them, right? That's pretty common with people. So from their view of the world and where they're standing, something that they want to do is impeded. But like the long and the short of it is like people have to make sacrifices to be at the elite level of anything they want to do, right? And things aren't going to line and sync up. This is the same issue I have with the whole like North American propaganda about shit. Oh, woe is me. It's like the same thing with that holidays and shit. Like this isn't a woe is me. This is I made choices to not see my family in certain parts and times of the year. Like holiday doesn't matter. I you know, that there's a choice I made to do what I'm doing because this facilitates this lifestyle I get to lead. Right? That's the choice that I've made. No tears, nothing. That's just the choice I made, and that's what happens. You make a choice, or you're a part of something, and that's the way it is. That's the way it is. So I think this is just one of those scenarios there. Now, I don't want to dwell on this for too long because I got more interesting stuff we want to jump into here. But do we have anything more we think is exciting from this striker?
I mean, just in general, like the way that it's set up, it obviously allows teams. I think it's obviously going to cause problems just because of deals and stuff like that. And like people like straight after a major ends, people will immediately have to get into talks. And like that obviously breaks up the break for people. You know, they have to spend the first week scouting some people and stuff like that. Obviously, this is helped by the fact that, as Bubzkji was saying, like a lot of the time it is people outside of the organization or let's say coaches, you know, who decide this stuff a lot of the time, not for every team, obviously, but a lot of the time. And so players can go on a break and just kind of keep a finger on the pulse of what's going on behind the scene, what players are looking at, but not necessarily have to be super involved in those conversations until, you know, an org comes and brings up like a list of names, you know, to kind of give some thoughts on. But obviously, you know, it is going to put us in a situation where some of these deals will have to come in like very last minute and things like that, you know, during the break.
Sure, yeah. Well, all the conversations are happening before that,
or it will just cause us to kind of shift those deals a little bit further, because like let's say people will still play Blast in the old roster just because of we didn't have the time to put in a new one, you know, or we didn't have the time to have a talk, you know,
the
after
deal
let's
wasn't
say
done yet.
Somebody just fucks up a major, you know, just doesn't do anywhere near where they were supposed to. The org decides, it's time for changes, but that takes some time, you know, to process, you know. So let's say could be after Cologne, you know, that some teams. So I'm a bit worried that it might cause some teams to be dead for the start of the new season, rather than, you know, having all these fresh rosters playing at Blast, for example.
And this is something we won't have to talk about for another year and a bit as well.
Yeah,
with this change, that's the thing.
We go every year.
So yeah, we got a while to wait for those changes. Next year, obviously, we know who's doing the first major. We don't know who's doing the second major yet, right? Okay, so we know that there's a second major towards the end of the year. I guess that'll be in the normal slot, which is more November driven. How did this information get out there, Striker? Was this them updating their like GitHub thing?
No. This was them sending out an email to all the TOs and like just to let them know, now you can send us a request or like there was a request for proposals. Now you can send us pitches for the yeah, that was the entire point of the piece, and they were just listing the dates, which is obviously the biggest story for us.
For us, yeah.
For them, it's just them looking at who's going to host these 4 majors during 25-26.
I do find some of this interesting though, because this is like some of the stuff that like I like thinking about when you're thinking about how Counter-Strike is broadcast to everybody. Now I'm going to start at the bottom because that's where one of the most fun things is, in case people aren't too familiar with this. But when you get to run a major, this says here, for both the major and the RMRs, Valve will provide support for the prize pool and the players' travel and accommodation. I'm pretty sure they cover all of it, like all travel, all accommodation, and the prize pool. So they cover like all of that. So then the TO is then responsible for everything else, making the show happen, right? Like the venue, shipping everything, the PCs, all that kind of stuff. But there's fun stuff in here. Like there's there's things like we typically prioritize events that take place in a region where a tier has previously held successful events. Additionally, it is helpful to identify backup venue. Like this is obviously, I don't know if that's new. You'd assume so because of with all the new COVID stuff, but it's interesting things in here.
I think a lot of that email is basically a copy paste from the previous one. The only thing that's kind of different is in the previous one they were talking about something with COVID and just them being a little bit careful about like what's the location going to be just because of COVID regulations, something like that. Most of this is pretty much a copy paste from like basically. I don't know about the first. I would have to check back. I don't know about the first paragraph, but from the second paragraph, pretty much all the way down, all of it is the exact same.
Okay, same with the time zones, because that's great hard info to have from the game developer.
They also had a line there that kind of suggested they're potentially open for changing the format of the majors in general, or even the qualification format, just because they said something like, I just wanted to go and actually find the wording. But yeah, barring a change in the event's format and or invitation slots, you would also be responsible for running the 4 3 now RMRs, you know, in the Americas, in Europe, and Asia, you know, and there was that line barring any changes to the format, you know. So they're leaving the door open for potential changes in the future, not necessarily being super strict about it at the moment.
This is the other important one here. The event should be time zone convenient for a significant proportion of CS2 customers. The game has 2 prime times, 4 p.m. CET and 2100 CET, which would be 9 p.m. I don't know why I did one in 24-hour time and one with that AM PM, but yeah. So that's all good stuff. If people want to read about that, you can go and find it. It's on HLTV, so that's cool. Are we all happy with this? We want to keep jumping forward?
Let's go.
Cool. All right. Next thing we're going to do is jump into, Vertigo and Overpass from the CS2 update. Just fly through these quite quickly, have a bit of a check-in, have a bit of a talk. Bubzkji, you've been playing any CS2. Do you have access?
Yeah, I got access. Luckily, I had some of your colleagues actually help me out.
Oh, damn.
Because I didn't get automatically invited because I didn't play a major.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I was like, surely you're playing at least one.
Yeah, I've been standing for about 2, so that's how it works, I guess.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, there's interesting rules.
Yeah.
But now you've got access, so you've been playing a bit. So have you played any of the new update?
Yeah, I mean, I just looked around on Vertigo and Overpass. I didn't queue any games, but obviously it's I think it's the water that makes most people crazy, right? That the visuals in our game could look like that. That's also what I'm most curious about, like how will the FPS be when there's 5 smokes, 5 nades.
I got a 3080. It's a bit rough. Like I'm going down connector and I'm mollying, and then I'm smoking on top of my molly, and then I'm HEing my smoke, and I'm fucking tanking. So I'm thinking about having to upgrade my PC here if I want to keep my
3080 and you're having problems.
Well, I got everything on high. I'm blasting it, man. I'm ripping through it. I'm going. Yeah, but I like.
I mean, I understand with CS2 because it actually is worth having details up on this.
Yeah, with
game.
all these things, right? Now, look, this is Vertigo right here, just flying around just quickly for everybody. Now you can see. There's, excuse me, different textures on the walls. It's a bit brighter. Otherwise, it's pretty much the exact same map. You can do a lot of the same utility. The thing is, things are going to be different. Like if you were to throw, let me see, can I buy here? No, we can't. Okay. You can throw, the in-meta smoke at the moment, right? So now because they're volumetric, they're not going to come through. So now when you do this, it's just going to get stuck under the boards. So this is obviously straight away going to impact it. We know it's going to impact it in a lot of ways, but that's just one thing in current meta that's going to be different.
There's going to be a lot of these like tiny moves that are going to be impossible. There's the smoke that usually comes down, and there's like the little gap in the top left that I don't think it exists anymore.
Well, this one
from
here
the
is
fight
like,
on ramp.
This I'm sure there's multiple ways to fucking skin a cat here, but one of the ways that I would throw the ramp smoke if you're not doing one of the spawn ones is like this, but this leaves a gap like top right in some occasions. And also if you have like the silenced, well, I guess you're on the T side, so you probably won't, but if you have the silenced M4 and you're shooting in the sides here without the traces, like you're creating pretty decent sized gaps with some of these shots here to see, especially like if you have an AWPer back here or something, right? And you've got a guy like Pepper in the edges of fucking smokes, and you got Zywoo or Monacy, some fucking keen-eyed kid ready to laser beam someone. Like that's going to be interesting dynamics. But there was a whole conversation, and we're going to get to that after, I guess, we look at Overpass about Vertigo, because that's our Vox Pop for this week. Anything you guys want to check out on Vertigo while we're here to fly around, or anything you guys want to talk about with before we go to Overpass, because that's where everyone's excited to see. This is just very bright. That it.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like the
shadows
flying around. It pretty much looks like the same thing.
Look, you got some nice shadows down here. Like, look at this shit. Like, we're playing
Holy shit,
shadow
I didn't-
puppets
I
and
didn't see
shit.
that.
Like, fucking having fun with this stuff.
What do we feel about some of these things? By the way, I mean, obviously the nuke one was
lights?
super. Yeah. The nuke one in radio, was a lot of people criticize that just because like you can see so much, But some of these shadows are kind of crazy.
I think people forget that CS is meant to be a casual game that we just made into like a competitive like esports scene. So I don't think they really care too much sometimes about these details that could implement issues into pro play. Then they would rather have it look nice and be like a wow experience for the casual gamer, which I have realized that that's really their priority, even though they still want a competitive scene.
Yeah, it's about like obviously balancing. Oh no, I missed the fucking Hampus. Oh dear. I do like the new skyline. Yeah, but I guess that's one of the things for them because there's more people who play than are just competitive, right? Obviously, there's a lot of people who play for fun. Like they log on tonight, they want to play a couple of matches or whatever, and that's the way she goes. So I'm going to change it over to Overpass here, and we can look at this a little bit. But there's some of the things which I think need to be either considered, like for example, some of the lighting areas, because you get to choose, do we want the lights here? Like, is this a good position? Is this already a strong angle that we're making stronger, right? Like, I think those things should be considered with some of the lighting positions. But like overall, I'm to the point where, if the shadows and we can have them and it's cool and it's not going to make anything crazy, like I'm saying, then yeah, let's stick with it. It's probably going to be fun. Now let's check out this water that Mr. Bubzkji was talking about. This is what everyone's loving.
That's the biggest story.
3 Clicks Phillips making videos about it. He just put out another video as well, 3 Clicks, talking about some of these props that aren't so intuitive. I can fly over and show you some examples of that, because I think there was some conversation about this as well, like people not loving the fact that there's like props like this bench here, right? You can't get on it, like, but it looks like you should be able to, whereas the same bench is right here and you can get on it, but we know you can get on this bench from.
But it's just... It's also so obvious, like the players have complained a long time about this train, like just please remove it.
Oh, this one?
The one going outside B,
Yeah.
And players complained about it for so long, they really wanted something new. Not new, but they just wanted it gone, but they didn't care, they just did it anyway, It kind of shows that they don't really give a fuck about players in that regard.
They did like adjusted way back when, just for it to be consistent at least.
Apparently there's a conspiracy theory. Apparently there was a strike. Right, I was reading on Reddit there was a strike and the train shouldn't be running at all, and they are, so that's a bit of a problem. Let's see if I can do this. You can do like a jump. Here we go, nice. You jump on this right here, like this. There you go. So they have to patch out like half of this shit because we obviously can't keep things like this in the game where I can get on a little light fixture and be able to see over the top. Oh, I mean,
shit! Is that such a big problem, really?
Is it such a big problem? I think if there's a lot of positions that aren't intended or in the game as they are right now. I don't know
if they were intended or not,
but there were the boost and short anyway, like where you would basically crab walk on the edge of the fins kind of, and
this one over here.
Yeah, where you could like spot on. This one.
That's true. I didn't actually test to see.
But
there's a lot of
that's gone. That's gone. So it's just like.
I see. Okay. Apparently the train doesn't have any, like you can throw nades through it, apparently, according to people in chat.
Oh, so you can throw nades through it though?
Yeah, maybe
then that doesn't matter.
Visual. What else is a little bit? So there's like, at the moment, there's heaps of stuff on Reddit. Like you can jump on this here. I'm not going to try it. I tried it yesterday. I couldn't fucking do it. This is different now with the jump spotting. So before we know, like with the 2 sandbags, there used to be one and then like a little half one here, and you would stand on the half one. So this wall is first of all higher, and you can't do that anymore. There's no like difference in elevation here. So that's like just a little difference in some of this railing. Obviously, we know like these trash bags are normally here, right? And you can like pop down, but now there's this whole railing. And like if you get on a bot's head, like you can all see that like it's not high, but you could see through the top of the door. So that's something that's new. Yesterday, when I jumped in, you could actually run on these, but now you can't. So that's
probably a good change.
Very quick. I like the fact that you could go on these, like you could go there, there, and there. Right, as opposed to like in the middle and in the middle here as you would normally, but you can't do anything now. So that's a whole spot removed from the B guys. I'm just
curious that they actually passed it out.
It was so OP, man. When people would try to go contact on Monster, you were just dead if one guy stood there because you would literally just
1 kill, right?
Yeah, your feet were just getting annihilated.
There's other stuff I was telling you about Striker, so with some like new angles. So they're like subtle things. But like, for example, with this here, this ended up on Reddit very quickly as well. Like how deep this is now. So making your way across over towards Playground now feels like it's going to be more of a non-issue. And also the pathing here is now going to be different. First of all, before when you'd come through, there used to be something right fucking here that you have to go around
it. Yeah.
Now you can path straight through. So I don't know how much that's going to change in the timing of fights like that.
I mean, it's like 1 second extra, right? But that could change fights slightly for sure.
Well, especially now if you can't get a Molotov with a good timing to stop them from going across, right? Like the T's are going to be able to take map control a lot quicker if that's the way it's going to stay.
That's the thing. That's also the first thing teams test, like from my experience. Like every time there's going to be a new map, just test timings on when do we meet each other, what is possible in regards to which nades are able to be thrown at what point, so you don't waste time. Oh, I found this really sick nade, but yeah, bro, they already passed that point.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's where things are going to have to be like checked, or is it to maybe like get rid of some of these things like this, for example, here, another one of these props that we're talking about. So maybe should we just get rid of stuff like that? Then maybe it won't look so nice. Are these things that are going to play that big of a difference? Should we be able to jump on the shelf again, right? Like you can't do that anymore. That's being clipped off now.
Then there's some help with the long wall jump, because before you could only jump from the bench,
yeah,
but now that there's the little, I don't know what that is exactly, but you can actually jump on that.
The gas
I don't know how much
and maybe a bag of leaves. Look at the bag of leaves. Look how good it looks, guys. Can we just appreciate? You know, you got some wood chips. You got it, but that's the thing. It's just these little. They look nice.
They look nice. I told you, like this game. It actually is worth turning up the details, so people will complain even more that the game doesn't run on a good FPS.
You've got beautiful trees. You've got difference in texture here. So when you're running, you'll be on the wood. You'll know that they're close, long, right? You know that's going to help with some of the audio. Audio is still a bit of an issue, I would say.
Yes.
In some scenarios, audio is probably one of my biggest gripes. What about you, Bubzkji?
I hate the sound. It sounds like I'm in an aquarium or something like that right now. I'm not sure if I'm using the wrong settings or something like that, but it's definitely not the same as CS.
It's quite dampened, right? And I think that it feels like it is reacting with its environment a lot more in terms of like how the audio is being, you know, determined, which I suppose from like how cool audio can work, that's a good thing. But from how used to knowing precisely where things are happening because of sound in Counter-Strike, maybe not such a good thing. Or maybe it is and we need to get used to it, but we don't know because we haven't really been able to play a lot of high-tier stuff, because you play 4 shorties in a row today on CS2 Overpass and you win every game 9-0 besides one that you win 9-1 because the other team aren't shooting back. So it's really hard to test things in the game when the opponents aren't shooting back, guys. We need Valve to give it to everybody so we can get some opponents who shoot back. These hedges, you can shoot through these. That's probably going to have to get fixed. There's a lot of shit. There's this wallbang that I keep doing when I'm playing through here that you're going to have to fix. Like, there's a lot of things like this, which this is expected, right? Like this is what tends to happen because a lot of people haven't seen new iterations or new maps come in or these things, but this is why people find problems, send them to the email.
But this is also why Valve apparently seems to want to have all the maps tested in the game for some time, just so that they can get some of these kinks out. Obviously, they're not going to get everything, but you know, like we still keep finding bugs in CSGO maps sometimes, even now, you know, years after they were released. You know, so obviously, you know, you can never get everything, but at least the worst things they can work out in those couple of weeks that they actually run.
What are we thinking? There's a conversation at the moment, and we'll get into the Vox Pop thing in a second, but about the fact that Vertigo was put into casual. People are taking that as a sign that it might not end up in the competitive rotation. Do we think there's any truth to that?
I have a theory, which is that they want to speed up the launch of CS2, so they are just introducing 2 maps at a time for that reason. Where, you know, one of them is just in casual, the other one in competitive. I'm not sure why they wouldn't just put both in competitive. Maybe they just want more focus on Overpass as a map that is obviously, as they were saying, built from the ground up. You know, this is entirely remade. I don't think that's the case for Vertigo, right? That's more like an adjusted, like
Yeah, they have official names for them, but it's just like they've touched up some textures and they've changed the lighting essentially, right? Like they haven't a touchstone or whatever the fuck it is.
Possibly because Overpass is remade, that's why they want the focus on that one. While Vertigo, you know, maybe they just want some feedback for the worst things, and have multiple maps in the game rather than, you know, just having one by one, taking 3 weeks to exchange them. You know, that means like we wouldn't see CS2 until October or whatever. But that is just
what
my
if
theory.
they just want people to play casual mode?
That is also possible.
You know, maybe they just want people to play casual. That could be it. You know, who knows?
I mean, that's also something that possibly needs to get tested or whatever, right? So it's possible. No. But then again, you could just like put both Vertigo and Overpass in all of them, right? And then
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. And then you would hope it would get played and everyone wouldn't just go to competitive. All right, let's jump out of this, Lucas. Unless anybody has anything they want to check out. Anybody have any questions? Anything they want to talk about here with the game before I quit out? No, speak now for
No,
hold your peace. We're all good.
I mean, for how they were saying it was going to be overhauled from the ground up, it is basically the same map. I mean, some of these small
Vertigo?
little adjustments, right? But I mean both of them. But Overpass is the map that was entirely remade, right? It is pretty much one-to-one copy, just with some of these slight adjustments to certain positions and things like that. Like layout is the exact same.
Yeah, but a lot of this stuff will affect it, like meta,
Yes.
Of
which
course,
is
like,
which is
timings will change things, and like positions, like some positions will not be as strong and blah blah blah. All these, like
Just-
for example, the connector, you know.
But like with the map like this, just the openings for the CTs. Like if you can no longer double molly for an opening for aggression like that,
Yeah.
immediately it's going to shift. Like, okay, do we need more resources towards A? Where do we play more on the map, like heavy early? Does that mean we can still start as heavy B? Can we do as many 4-1s? Are we going to give up too much territory? And now that's affected. Like those things we won't even truly know until we're done. Lucas, you here? This motherfucker. What does he think? I'm just like,
Well,
there he is. He took
put
it off.
the map away. So.
There we
Oh,
go.
took it away.
Put it away, Lucas. I want to alt tab. You sharing my screen. Am I safe? I'm safe. Okay. Cancel that now. Bang. Perfect. Okay. So we jumped in that. We took a quick look. In terms of the game itself and how it's feeling, it's feeling better, I would say. I've played a little bit over the last couple of days. I would say every time I notice that it's feeling a little bit better. I saw some people having a actual decent conversation in the Reddit thread saying that basically what I took from it was like lots of other subtle, smaller changes, like not being able to eliminate weapon bob, for example. And you add a whole like new sounds, new gun noise, models look a little bit different. The HUD's slightly different. You compound all of these things together, and we're thinking, oh, this feels weird or this doesn't feel right, and you wonder like how much of it is getting used to something new, and how much is bad, and how much is wrong, and that's really hard to identify.
I mean, you guys will know better just because you play more and probably have tested the game. How's the movement progressed? I mean, that was one of the biggest gripes. And I was like running around. I played a couple of games, but not like enough to really get a good opinion together.
Hard to tell if it's due to the way that tick works now, or it's simply due to the game being different. I think it's better than it was in the start. In the start, it was basically just, the worst it's ever been. But people also have to realize, if you Google 2012 beta CSGO and look at that shit show compared to what we have now, I have no doubt that they're going to fix all of our concerns.
Yeah. That's the thing, right? I'm in the same optimistic type of boat. And if we continue to see these steps forward every time, like SPUNJ even had a positive tweet the other day. Before you know it, we get a couple more updates deep. Loba might even have something nice to say about it. And you never know. That right there is what we're looking for, the Loba stamp of approval. Okay, so I wanted to bring up this Vox Pop this week. We are talking about Vertigo. Lucas should have a nice little graphic for this. So there's been, especially since that conversation I just brought up, people speculating maybe, just maybe, it won't be in the competitive map pool. There's been big conversations. There's been a lot of Vertigo haters been coming out of the woodwork to say, yeah, fuck Vertigo. So we wanted to ask the question to the people at home, what they thought. So Striker, you were the man collecting some of the responses here, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, one of them, I don't know if they are going to go in the order that I picked them, but let's say they will. One of them was Lucy. That's as I said, she was a little bit cheeky. It has some of the most fun rotation mind games. It's a thinking person's map, which is why so many CS players don't like it.
Yeah,
which is I mean, fair enough.
How do you
kind of have to be?
But Striker, how do you feel about the map?
I mean, I've gotten less hateful towards it just because some of the like smoke spam fights have disappeared a little bit just because of how the conditioning has changed on the map and how like early you throw a lot of the smokes earlier because of the ramp fights and all that stuff. Like there's not as many of those just like, okay, you do an execute and like everybody's spamming through smokes. That doesn't happen like more than maybe a few times in a game, you know. So I don't have such a problem with it. It is there are some like difficulties with just fast rotations and things like that. Everything is heard around the map, so a lot of what I like about CS is not possible on the map, which is kind of why I'm still not super. I'm not enjoying it so much.
Okay, that's an interesting way to look at it, right? So other things of, I guess, more like I
mean, like just fast rotation, fast fakes, you know, things like that. It also takes quite a long time for these to run around, and when they do, I mean, they just are heard. As long as the CTs are in the right positions, they they will know what's going on,
Sure.
unless it's like super late and it's 2v2 or whatever.
It's a very good seesaw map, I think. I think that's one of the positives of a map like Vertigo is you can seesaw really well. And it's really frustrating when you get like faked or you made the wrong read on which side they lurked out. And then there's a guy in like this crazy gap. He's like pushed out. He's already out short. He's close A site. You're rotating back elevator and you just fucking laser and you're dead, right? And you're like,
it is lurkers. It is a lurkers
right?
map, man, 100%.
What do you think, Bubzkji, as someone who's been playing it not that long ago? How do you feel about it?
I just think it's hard for CTs to like gamble like Heroic is trying to do it, right? Obviously try to re-aggress, find some information in that regard, but it's just so hard to do that because the Ts can easily just run B because you maybe have one guy on A, then you see 3 guys pushing A, then you just run up B, right? I think there's just a lot of advantages to the T on this map in regard to how it's built. Also just simply due to that CTs have minimal ways to push. Obviously, we see Mirage. You can push A apps late round. You push slope. If you hear, you see a lot of action and you can push in the other way. But on Vertigo, there's always a lurker holding. If you try to push mid late, obviously, or B. So I think it's not really going to be my favorite map.
Yeah, in the top tier, teams have gotten a lot better at punishing like heavy A starts now over towards B. You just see the site just raining with mollies and they're in, and the solo anchor either has to play retake or just fucking wrecks. So yeah, I think that this is the thing to play the map. I think it's fun. I think it has some fun elements to it, like especially, and this is not going to be the case going forward, but when you're playing around with just in pugs with the smoke wall meta, right? Okay, what smoke are they throwing on the defense and what are we going to throw on the T side? And then in the next round, okay, are they going to change their variation or are we going to change? I think like that when you're playing and you're vying for that control and you're the people involved in the util for that, that's fun. But you don't get that link together as easily on the map because of, I think, these elevations and the awkward way that the fight's taken for the viewer. And then when it does just become an A execute simulator, which I think for lower teams, I'm not saying good Vertigo teams, I'm saying lower, not so good Vertigo teams, you see them fall into that trap because it's quite easy just to 4-1. It's exactly what Bubzkji's saying. Like someone's going to be watching the flank for A and you just have 4 guys, you maybe wait out the util and then you're going to be able to walk up and try and trade out and then execute if you can get the space. And I get why people don't love it. But yeah, it's one of these things. I can't tell if it's getting an unnecessary amount of hate. Like I feel like it's getting a lot of hate.
I think
is it
overall,
overblown?
I mean, I think overall, when I was looking through that thread, is just generally the question that we posed. It was actually pretty diverse. I mean, I would say more negative than positive, but
I didn't even look at the results of the poll. I was just reading the comments.
Check that. 43% I like the map, 26% somewhere in the middle, 31% I hate it. So let's say even more towards positive in terms of the poll. And in replies, it was, I would say, a little bit more negative, but not like overwhelmingly so as I expected.
Okay. All right. I
mean, we have the second one. Meta is using one-way smokes to get ram both on A and B. You have to sneak in most rotations, limiting the fast and more risky plays. Most of the map is on top of another layer, so minimap for viewers and players sucks. Options for splitting sites are limited.
Yeah, and there's I think there's very reasonable like critiques on not liking the map. I think like the stuff that I do go, and I even just referenced it myself is when it's just like, oh, it's just an A simulator. But I think that there's like nice nuance to the map in terms of the different, like I love it when I see something new on a map like Vertigo because it's a map I enjoy playing. So when I see like a new development or maybe a new one way or a new way to clear a position with a cheeky molly, like the first time I see a guy throwing that molly from ladder room that breaks through the glass and lands top of gap and burns the guy out. I'm like, fuck yeah. The first time I said that, I'm like, that's sick, right? But then at the same time, it's a map where I'm seeing a guy throw a molly through a floor to burn out the mid-A rotator. And I'm like, well, do I really like that? I'm like, maybe not. Like then, and even from a commentary perspective, I have to go, well, yes, but in the Valve events and ESL, you can do this, but in this event, you can't do that. It's like, fuck, get this shit out of here first.
People also
that stuff.
People are also very, very fast to complain when this stuff happened, when mollies go through the wall. And so you remember the molly that went in behind the steel bars in mid and went down, and it did like 2 damage. It was totally useless to throw, and people were like, oh, we can't play Vertigo anymore. It's just too OP, man. Like,
they have too much info, off like 2 ticks of a molly or some shit.
It's so useless. You could literally just throw it on B and do the same damage. I think sometimes it's blown out of proportion. I do think it's kind of annoying that you can die without noticing. But most of them are quite gimmicky.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. We got any more from the people, Striker?
Yeah,
What's this one say?
that's the last one. As I told you, like I think you'll like this one because if you remember the 1.6 version, everyone complaining about CS:GO, the CS:GO version should go play the 1.6 version.
Yeah. Right.
If you still don't think CS:GO version is at least a playable map, then go play something else, more Vertigo, less Mirage. Playing CS since beta 6.6, I guess.
You used to be able to like go from CT spawn and drop down a ladder.
Oh yeah, there was like a ladder in
into
old
T
Vertigo.
spawn.
That was shit. That was shit.
And they would boost, the T's would boost like on
Yes.
the ladder, and then they get this like room access where there was a door and stuff.
It was
Right.
cut out.
Yeah, which is kind of like the ladder room now, but like the way that the whole floor plan worked was crazy. And like you used to be able to do these drop downs from the top layer. You'd be mega cheese in like pub servers. You'd drop down from the top layer and you'd like strafe around the outside of the map and drop down on the second layer and kill people in the back who weren't looking and shit.
I mean, we actually had a part of it in CSGO even, right? Like just because the wall that is on a site now that basically completely separates the ramp from the actual site. That you like literally in 1.6 and even part
didn't exist.
I'm trying to remember how it was in CSGO in the early stages because there was some gaps at least.
Yes,
I don't remember if you could drop.
There were a gap. Yes, you could. There
was a gap, but you couldn't drop, right?
No,
like
no,
you could actually jump down.
Yeah, there was like
completely open.
it was completely open. Where the sandbag is, there was like a ledge you could go into a side.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. I don't remember the early version of CSGO, but yeah, I mean 1.61 was literally you like CTs would drop from that.
But
to fight
I love
Ts
this
a little bit.
argument. I love this argument. It was worse before, so enjoy it now. You know, like, it's hard to get past that one. So is the jury still out? Because we were all like, do we think from a viewer perspective, which I suppose is the majority of our audience, right? I'm sure some people still play a little bit, but I'm sure the majority of the audience who are interested in hardcore upper echelon Counter-Strike are mainly viewers. So we think from a viewer perspective, is that what we should be servicing here? Because we already heard from Bubzkji, you know, we know Valve, they're not just servicing the competitive side of things, the viewers. Because as a player, and I think you hear this from a lot of people, people say they do enjoy playing Vertigo. So I feel like maybe it's not going anywhere. Maybe it is. Maybe, I mean, maybe still, no idea.
It's still not super popular in pro play. I think it's the second least played map behind. It should be Anubis.
Anubis at the moment, yeah.
There also need to be some shit maps to contrast for the good ones. If everything was good, nothing was good. You feel
damn straight.
I like that. I like that.
Oh, so Vertigo is our ship map.
Paradise doesn't exist. Essentially, Paradise doesn't exist. Is what Bubzkji is saying.
It's our ship map. Okay, nice. Well, let's move on to our next little portion of the show here. Now, Striker, I asked you this before, and I'm not sure if you answered me. Maybe you did. Do we know what time we're going to have Mr. Harry call in, Mr. Nero call in?
I mean, he can come in at any point. He literally just joined the TeamSpeak. I think he just saw that we were just about to end this. Okay. So he's going to come in now. I think Lucas is going to set him up, but we can bring him in pretty much anytime.
Yeah, I was thinking, let's bring him in first when we talk about this, because he can join us for the beginning of the Blast conversation. So this is Nero. We had him on the show not that long ago. He's joining us. Nero, can you hear us? I guess we got your webcam sorted. Yeah, we'll get that. I won't talk to you until you're sorted. I won't ruin the illusion here. We'll pretend like this is all awesomely worked out, and
we're gonna bring you on with some trumpets, like
some trumpets.
Better.
Jesus, really overselling what we've got here, Striker. I think we're running out of budget for that, mate. We'll have to see if we can work on that. But we're having, a mid-episode guest is quite nice, and we're going to talk about Blast right now. We're going to talk about our early impressions because obviously the event is still going, and we're bringing Harry in because. He's got a couple of pages, don't you, Harry, where you're keeping track of all the player positions.
He has like 15 fucking slides, man.
But the one that I liked, and I saw it, I was like, this motherfucker just saved me so much work. I didn't see the first time that you posted those links, and I saw it just the other day when you like retweeted. I was like, holy shit. So before I do matches, like I'm going in and I'm checking all the places and positions, and you just have a document that you update all the time. So I can just steal that. It's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
one of those, it's like, if there's ever something wrong, I'm going to get told off. But I try and update it quite regularly. And then it's just, I just have this spreadsheet where it's like every map and most top 30 teams. But then like I caught a few, like the old EG team when I checked it to edit it for this Blast group, like it still had like hexed on it from last time. So like it's not 100%. It's basically how lazy I am.
Okay. Well, yeah, no, that comes from most of us. Now, I assume all of us here have been watching Blast in different capacities. And if you haven't, we're going to make that assumption that you have. Now, where do we want to start here? I guess we're going to be talking about the teams who have made roster changes. Now, we'll use your document here, Harry. Do you want to, Lucas, can you bring this up for everybody playing at home? And I guess we can run through this. And if anybody has any questions or any observations that they made about these teams, feel free at any point to chime in. Harry, are you ready? Are you feeling like you're up to date?
Screen,
No, not yet.
Not
I don't
my
know. We got
I mean,
Lucas
I put
producing this week, so
I
he's
put it in the. There you go.
Okay,
he's new to this,
Wow.
mate. He's new to this.
The power play goes crazy. Let's go.
It's not quite the PowerPoint. It's not quite a prof level PowerPoint. It's just like
He
just
probably
like I
stole
just
that from you
pasted
as well,
like
didn't he, mate?
graphics in. But,
I think,
but,
bro,
yeah.
I think this is great. I think this is better than Prof's PowerPoint. So once we good,
Yeah,
but
we'll take it.
I'm not talking about this like headline that is very simple. I'm talking about the actual content.
Lucas, can we get a
It's the
slide
right
number
font.
2, please?
HLTV font is there.
Where's the space bar?
Lucas.
working on pressing the space bar.
There we go.
It doesn't
Yay.
work like spacebar
There we
in
go.
this mode. So
I mean,
I'm
you have to
sorry,
do like the
Lucas.
slideshow thing. It's for it
I'm
to work.
sorry,
Yeah.
man. That's fine. But
Yeah.
all right, Vitality. What do we notice out the gates for them that they just lost to NIP? That's probably the biggest takeaway we've got for Vitality right now. Yeah.
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 But it's completely 1-for-1 basically. Like Flames has lost a lot of his old spots, and it's so yeah, he's just coming straight for Dupree, like because he entry fragged a lot for OG before, but then but he entry fragged from like weird positions, like he'd like lurk and then Nexa would just let him go in front of him, like at the end of the round.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
Neo
and now
frag
he's-
was more the typical entry for OG, I guess, and then
yeah,
Flames
by
was like the
roles.
secondary one.
Okay, so
Mhm.
pretty much for Vitality, nothing really changed on the T side, but the CT side here, Inferno, I'm seeing some like he's got some. These are just the pre spots. That's it. He's just plug and played. Like you see Majesty now in pit. Like what are we talking about here? What's moved and shaked here?
I think it's just So Megas always used to play pit, right, for Astralis. Like that's like how I remember him playing it. And I think they just shuffled it a bit. Like Dupree used to play A short, and then they've moved Flames to B, which means that Spinks is now the rotator on A instead of pit. And then that means Megas goes back in pit. So it's like little changes. It's like, oh, just who's comfortable here. Like you never know why Megas was playing B at first, and then Flames coming in has let him move back to A, I guess. But yeah, not too much. Like basically exactly what we expected from Flames. Like he's anchoring B on Mirage and stuff like that.
Now, just in case anybody asked the question, ZywOo is not on the graphic because he's the AWPer. Everybody, just in case. I know I'm sure there was someone out there who was thinking, "Where's ZywOo? Where's what do you got for us, Bubzkji?"
Nothing. Just surprised that you said ZywOo was an AWPer.
That's true. He's just as he's may as well be a hobby AWPer these days. Okay. Do we have anything else? We can talk more about Vitality later.
I mean,
but
yeah, we're gonna get to them anyway. I just had something about like Flames was talking about his positions, and he was like talking about how
perfect for it.
Yeah, I mean, he was talking about how he came into Vitality knowing he's not going to be like a big star for the team. You know, he will be used in a way that where he's going to be front for a lot of the executes, things like that. Just opening up space, you know, like space creator or whatever Gekindar is calling it, right? So I think that's, and also because of him anchoring most of the maps. I mean, those are not superstar positions, obviously. So all this combined, I mean, he's realizing very obviously that okay, like in OG, he was one of the big fraggers, you know, but maybe in Vitalities that's not going to be the case just by virtue of the positions alone.
And I guess we haven't seen Anubis and Nuki yet because I think it's a pretty safe assumption Vitality are just going to keep removing Ancient for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Most likely
Nice.
it's just gonna be Flames slotting into A side and matches going on ramp and Apeks still playing outside with ZywOo. I couldn't really see it going any other way.
I wonder with a player like Flames, I can't see him having too much, like not skipping too much of a beat. Like now that he knows these are his positions and you have time now to be working on these in officials and watching demos and stuff, you'd imagine, you know, where he's lacking in these spots, he's going to be able to make up on it pretty quick because of the type of individual they brought in for this task, right? And he seems like a, you know, I guess he can just talk to like Spinks about a lot of the things too. It's like, hey, what do you need from me here? You can cut corners with the native tongue too. So that's kind of fun to see their development. We'll get more of them in Blast a little bit later. Okay, Lucas, take us down to EG. Maybe this isn't a super exciting one for anybody playing at home, but so obviously this is essentially the old EG Black roster without Rush and now Automatic in here. So how are they looking, Harry? I know this is probably not a fun one for too many people at home. What EG?
Yeah, we don't need to spend ages. But yeah, there's the thing is as well, they've only played 4 maps and they've got different roles on all of them. Like some maps it's kind of hard because like is the boiler player or the banana player the pack player? Like some teams it switches a lot, right? And so it was hard to tell with EG because they've literally got like Automatic is in banana, but he's like kind of the pack player behind Walco. But that's basically it's hard to tell from this few maps. But I think they're probably still figuring it out, like exact roles, and then maybe they just don't have that defined. I don't know.
Okay, so from this sample size, like they don't have the pieces in place of what a lot of the stronger teams would be doing in the current meta. Would that be a fair from what you've seen from the sample size we've seen?
Maybe. Well, but I don't think
Maybe.
it's.
Okay. I'm trying to
gonna say
jump
maybe
in
on that one.
Try not to be harsh. Poor EliGE. Mostly they're like playing a lot of their EG black spots, and then basically automatic gets every spot he wants. And if that's a different spot, then they all shuffle around. So
that must be nice.
Something
You get that in Astralis, Bubzkji?
What?
Did you get that in Astralis? You got to pick all your spots?
What did I change spot? Yeah, I played everything, man. I played the orb at some point. But one thing I will say about EG that is like not to their favor is that they want to be in a team, right? And they're at the bottom of the food chain, and the talent coming out of NA is just non-existent. Like people hype up just the slightest talent to be the next big thing. Not trying to take away from anything, but like it happened with Junior. It happened with maybe Swisher. Like people were saying, "Oh, these guys are the next big thing," and then they come to Europe and they just get kind of smashed. So I do think that they are in a rough position, EG, because they can't poach any of the good ones, and they have to be really smart about their situation. Because people who wants to join EG, it's basically players who are, oh shit, let's go. It's basically at the downtrend of their career, right? They need to restart their career. Maybe they're coming for the money. Maybe they're coming for, like just trying to chill. And it's so hard to find motivated player when you're at such a bad position. It's just a evil circle they're in.
Yeah, you kind of have to hope that with some of these players, they try one of them sticks. Like somebody actually proves himself and goes, "Oh yeah, this can be a mainstay," right? That's I guess the best they can hope for. But at the same time, not a whole new roster, but at least representing EG on this level, it's a whole new roster. So we'll have to wait and see what the rest of Blast has in store for them. Okay, NIP, Harry, you ready for them?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
NIP. Yeah, again,
we saw a bit of them just get a win.
We
just got a big win, a huge win. Are we all going to overhype them now? They're back. Swedish Counter-Strike, it's on the map. They do have some problems. Like Overpass just there. Hamper saying nobody wants to play B.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true that Config moaned a little bit in an interview as well. He's like, well, not moaned, but he's like, yeah, like we're still shuffling spots. Like I have to play connector on Overpass, and it's just like how have you got someone that aggressive playing the most boring spot maybe on any map? On C side, he's just sat there just waiting.
I just feel like we've got debated so many times from these formats in Blast. Like when we say last year, oh my god, EG beat Heroic, they're back guys. They're gonna compete with Complexity, and then it just goes to shit. I think they need to show more than this. Obviously, it's a great start, and they're gonna be on home soil for Config, and it's gonna be a very, very nice arena for them to test out their ability on the best stage. I don't think they've played a stage event together, this combination of players either, so it will be a good task for them.
Now you don't have the dog roll in here for Hampus. He was doing an awful lot of barking today, so that might have to be updated here. I guess he's in the pack. Hey,
yeah, it works.
Jesus Christ,
that was a reach. That was a reach.
But clearly he's back to his old spots.
What, Hampus?
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
well,
I
didn't have much to say on that, but I guess so.
You'd want a little bit
himself
of it,
bad
wouldn't
spots, has he?
You want a little bit of the good spots for Hampus, wouldn't you? Though, let him get involved.
He's a crazy motherfucker. Like Hampus is just like Zero Fox. He's like we kind of came up together. Where he played on GamerLegion, I played on like Tricked, and we constantly played each other. And he's just like an IGL who doesn't really care about stats. He will literally just run if he thinks he has the timing, and he will create so much space. Obviously, it just has to come down to, if he has a good day, it will be really easy for NIP because he will make a lot of space. But sometimes he has these days where he just gives 10 entry frags, and then it's kind of rough for the rest of the team. But I think he will balance it out, and he's just a super good player.
Yeah, it's one of those things when you play as an in-game leader like that, you live or you die by that sword. Like if you get away with it, you can win games with those type of moves because you're feeling out and finding those gaps. It can be a blessing and a curse. Is there anything crazy here on the CT side? This is the thing. I was always wondering with the balance of players, because I know that, we've seen Rez do almost everything across the course of his career here. But when I think of like Rez, Config, Brolin, and even throwing Hampus in the mix, all of them, I think they could all
aggressive as fuck.
That's what I think, like so this is where I imagine they have some of their issues getting people to sit still. It's like, hey guys, like there's a few of you who can't have ants in your pants. Like Config and Rez holding the B bomb site on Overpass. It's more active now than it's probably ever been, like with the monster pushes and all these different little variations, but it's traditionally a pretty boring site.
It's kind of weird with Brolin because he's actually an anchor on almost all maps, but on Overpass he's like the star player.
Yeah, right, he's playing bathrooms, right?
Yeah, he's playing bathrooms, and he's playing on Nuke, he's playing ramp, on Mirage he's playing A side. So for me, from an outside perspective, I think at one point they will maybe move Res and Config up on A together with Headtrick. But obviously, Proline has played that position for so long and he's really good at it. But it's just to make everybody else better than him.
But I guess it doesn't have to fit that mold, though, right? I guess you see a lot more
obviously.
similarities. But this is the thing, like, because with the stuff Harry's doing here, he probably sees a lot of patterns or a lot of the things that the good teams with the certain players who play certain roles are doing, and they're replicating and getting success. And I wonder, like, is this one of these scenarios where they need to moneyball it a bit more and try and play to the strengths of what these type of players should do, or is this where we go back to the classic Counter-Strike of this guy feels good in this spot, like he's got a good intuition in this spot, he's got a lot of experience in this spot. So when you're in NIP's position like you are right now and you bring Hampus back, I feel like they're going to stay in a bit more of the side of like, hey, if this guy's like good at this spot and he feels it, we'd probably leave him there. Like, I don't think they've completely gone to the, hey, let's just do the X's and the O's. Yeah,
I mean, they have a problem with just, they don't really have a reliable piece. I mean, there's obviously some star positions that you would want your best player or best rifler to be in, most of the cases at least. But like literally,
no
they
one's
have
consistent
games,
enough for
nobody's
that. Yeah.
consistent. I mean, Brolin, if you look back 2 years ago, yeah, that would have been the guy, who you put in the aggressive star roles, let's say. But obviously that hasn't been the case for a while for NIP, but Rez also hasn't stepped up to be that particularly consistently, and Config is just up and down constantly. There's nothing's changed about that, So like all of these four guys are super inconsistent, and partly it's because they are all kind of so aggressive sometimes that's they will just be up and down. But that is the problem that NIP is facing.
Yeah, I think they will. I think Config and Headtrick has a massive responsibility going forward in order to prove themselves that they can deliver on a high level every time. Headtrick, obviously a new guy, but Config a proven player, but he's kind of brought in to be a star, right? And the star players now with rivals are really rocking high ratings. Like you look at Spings, you look at Robs, you kind of need some of those riflers to be able to put up those numbers, and I don't think he's done that yet, but I think he has probably in Denmark the biggest potential to do so.
Okay. Yeah, I think the biggest, and that's probably one of the things that's plagued him his entire career, is the consistency conversation around him. One of these guys who in the first like 6 or 7 rounds of a game can get you like 14 or 15 kills and guarantee you like some really, and then he just cools off, right? And that's but I put him, and I don't know how you feel about this, Bubzkji, but you talk about Hampus being a crazy motherfucker. I look at the same thing with Config. Like he's one of these intuition, like if he's feeling it, if he gets a couple kills on the pistol round, you're like, fuck yeah, we're onto a good one with Config right now, So
yeah.
It's going to be one of the problems for DJL is bottling all of these guys.
Brolin's more aggressive than both by stats as well.
Yeah,
like opening attempts, Brolin beats both of them in this next team.
I just remember playing from Config, like when he had a personal vendetta against the guy in maybe like a practice or something, he would literally just wait. Can we do the B default? No, fuck this. I'm killing this guy on B. Like he's just a confident guy, and I love to see it because he can really like change a game. But you can only really have one player that does this, because if 2 players in your default is running around just taking duels, then it kind of falls to the bottom of the ocean.
Unless they all just keep trying until one of them, pulls it off.
Yeah,
we'll just keep throwing shit at the wall until something sticks. All right, what do we got next? What do we look at?
It's just kind of
the CT side here. I'm sorry, I'm looking over here. My bad.
There's just like one thing on the Overpass thing. It's like it's that thing where as soon as like you have one bad map, someone's like, I want to play that spot now. And it's like kind of what Astralis had with Blame and Glaive, right? They were swapping all the time because it's like, oh, you had a bad map, I'll play there now. And it's like, it can be really hard when you have 4 people wanting to play the same spot.
Like me mid-pug.
Yeah.
And I mean, you put the responsibility on who's building the team, right? I mean, this doesn't feel like a team that just has positions worked out, and it hasn't been basically since the start of the year. I mean, since they obviously, when they had to bring him Config, it was kind of unexpected, they just had to find a replacement for Hampus, but still, like now he's back.
Yeah.
And even when EliGE, it's not even just Hampus, when EliGE was there, he also was in a lot of active positions, and so like, how do you build a team that has this many pieces that want to do the same thing, right?
But at least they have the pieces to able to succeed, like they actually have firepower, they actually have the right components in their like individual level. Like some teams, no matter how much you change around on the roles, they're not gonna be able to be better than other teams. I think NIP has actually really good players on each position in that regard. I just think they need to figure out how 100% to line them up.
Well, this is the type of team that could benefit from a confidence boosting win like the victory they had today.
Yes.
Like that, because the players sometimes look scared and don't want to take the fights, which is, as we're talking about, part of their identity. And we know confidence plays a big role in how they're going to look for a lot of these jewels. And obviously, can't all be confident just holding W. I think that started to become a problem for them in some of the rounds as they were trying to get into that second map. But I still was surprised to see them get it done in 2. But yeah, okay. We got anything else for Nip? Or we want to keep moving? Complexity next.
Let's move.
All right, complexity next. This is what EliGE's edition has been. Oh, look at this. He's got a little ban logo.
I told you this is amazing.
Yeah, he's well prepared. Okay, talk us through this one, Harry.
Yeah,
not a whole lot of new stuff, mate.
Yeah, this is why it's like I think Dust2 did an article on how good a fit EliGE was for Fang's roles. Like I feel like I didn't realize Fang had such good roles until EliGE has come in and basically nothing's changed. Like on T side, he's actually just got better roles than he did in Liquid. Like he gets to be the main outside guy on Nuke and stuff like that. Vertigo, he's the ramp player. Like he's getting to do some of the stuff he hasn't done since Kinder joined. He's the proper like star rifle
impact from him as well.
You can see it, right?
Yeah. So that was cool. Yeah. So immediate, like straight into those positions, and we see good results from him. So that's good. Is it more of the same on the CT side?
Yeah, I think it's exactly the same. Like he's just now playing outside on Nuke, and everything else is same as Liquid spots.
Okay.
Other than Vertigo, which he didn't play.
I got permission to say the shoe story with Hampus.
All right, tell the sure story.
It's not really that interesting. Now I hyped it up too much, but like when we were playing in GamerLegion, he was playing in Tricked. We had this god awful long boss to on 6 hours, and Shush was like smoking back then. I'm not sure if he does that anymore. So he would sometimes like just spit, to get like that nasty stuff out. He's in the fucking chat. Then he would Hampus had this like the long hair, up in the bun, and then he would like spit, and it hit Hampus in the air.
Oh no!
And he didn't tell him, and at some point he had to tell him. Oh, it's just not a good side. I'm not sure if they cleared the
differences. Does Hampus have a vendetta against Shush now? Is Shush, is he? I don't know how the both is.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, he choked on the cigarette. Oh yeah, it was the soda.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yep. The soda. All right. Well, poor Hampus. Well, Hampus he's cut his hair now. Maybe that was why. Maybe Hampus went, I need a haircut so people don't spit in my hair anymore. We got to the bottom. I want to know if Hampus is in the chat as well, because I saw you try and talk to him before. If I want to know about the barking. Did we get to the bottom of the barking? Was it in the post-game interview? I didn't. As soon as we ended the game, I had to come in here.
From before.
There needs to be. Hi Hampus, but there needs to be an explanation. Like they can't just be barking. You can't just bark. You've got to. There's got to be. Does he think someone on the other team is a dog? Like what's going on there?
I don't know. This is like a throwback to
He says I can't remember. Can I not remember? I don't know, dude. My memory's not great.
Didn't SPUNJ do it in fnatic?
I mean, there was like one game I remember that was like somebody called them dogs, so he was like just started to bark because like the dogs they are or whatever. But this is like I don't know how long this is ago. This is like last year.
I hope there was a cast of the game after. Dude, see, this is the thing. Yeah, and this could have been at any point in time. It's probably sometime in the last year. Maybe this is the thing. He's just fucking hell. Now
I remember the interview afterwards, but I don't remember the game or the team. Was it Vitality at the time?
Got deleted. His messages are getting deleted. Torji called us dogs, so I started to bark. Oh, okay. But you carried it through against a team that didn't even say anything. So like, all right, fair enough. All right, fair enough. We can leave that there. All right, next team. Big. There's going to be this one here. What the fuck's going on here?
Yeah.
This is something, isn't it? What's going on at Big? Sin, Process. Obviously, we know they got the promotions. We got Mantu Orphan. We're speaking English. Oh, get Big done, Harry. I can't spend too long on this. I haven't been able to watch them play. It hurts me.
It's also confusing because they've got like dual IGLing apparently at the moment.
Yeah.
Like Tamsin's kind of teaching Sin how to IGL, which just seems like a really weird dynamic. Like, is it just like if you disagree, then you just overrule him every time, or like how does it actually work? Like, I'd be interested to hear how they're calling, especially because all of them switching to English at the same time. Like, it seems like a lot going on at once.
It stresses me out. And just even considering like all the conversations. Anyway, I don't want to get into those conversations again.
I mean, we had the same thing happen with like Zeus and Bubzkji. Like there was like some bringing up Bubzkji, and then eventually like it was in a position where Bubzkji could start calling on his own, right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't love it, but that's not that. Yeah, the whole point of this is then to free up Tabson, who's now not young anymore. To be so what are we going to get at? Man.
Yeah, and they're also continuing with Crimbo as like an anchor a lot of the time. Like if we switch to CT7,
I think Crimbo's their best player.
Yeah,
he's like,
So he
yeah,
is now,
it's
yeah.
the thing where a lot of teams have those like overqualified anchors, like the Axel, the Rops thing. Like it's okay to have an overqualified anchor, and maybe Sin as IGL wants the rotator spots as well. But it feels like sometimes Crimbo is like, you want Crimbo to have more of a say on the round when he's clearly their best rifler for me at the moment.
Yeah, look, I don't think this is the constellation that Big should. Well, actually, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I haven't known about Big for a long time.
I think this combination of 4 Germans and 1 guy who doesn't speak German is so weird. Like it
They've
will
done
create
it so many times though.
yeah, like
Smooyas and
something.
Taras.
Yes, like I don't know Sin and Process well enough, but like it just looks like, why are you taking these guys instead of some of the players you could potentially poach if you're speaking English anyway?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to speculate on the German. Every time I talk about like Tabson and stuff, they're like, no, we're not talking about this. He's not going anywhere. And now he's definitely not going anywhere. Now the dream's dead.
Didn't he sign until like 2025? What was that? That was the thing.
Probably.
I think he's got like at least 2 more years on his contract.
At least the majors will be at the end of the season by then, as we've discussed. Let's get on to NAVI, because this is one where there'll be some interest for people to see how this goes. Because people are loving talking about NAVI at the moment. They love the meltdowns. They love the victories. They love it all. So with NAVI, is it what we expected with the constellation of players, Harry?
Yeah, I mean, Emma, I'm going to go with Emma. He's doing a lot of entry. Is the first thing I noticed. Like he's always been a pack player, but it feels like he's doing a lot of entry, and I think maybe that's reflected in his stats a little bit going down. It feels like he's being set up a bit worse, and maybe just the communication is not quite there in the same way it was. Like it's very hard in a new team to have the entry pathing down as well as he did. Like just the timing of different players around you, things like that. But yeah, kind of as expected. Bit is still the main lurker, main anchor. Like they're committing to that as kind of like making him the 4th piece, which I think some people maybe want him to go back to the 2021 roles where he did have a bit more space. But yeah, they seem like they're pretty nailed on him and JL as the anchors and lurkers. And then Alexi B gets quite a few good spots. Still anchoring B on Mirage just because he's the only one who's done it before, probably. But yeah, it's kind of the fit where Bit is the main anchor, and then alongside JL, and then that's the team structure basically.
Yeah, I guess when you look at this for the T side, that would make the most sense. I know that like Bit is really sharp and stuff, but sometimes his decision making is what was letting him down. It felt like, right? So in some of these anchor roles, it's a little bit more, I want to say simplified, even though it's not. You have to know when to take your risks, but you're also, you know, not having to make these split-second decisions while trying to take map control, and there's, you know, a bunch of different utility coming down. So I don't know. We've seen Navi play a couple of games, and we've seen, so one day it was, oh my God, Simple's the worst teammate ever, dialogue again. And then the next day they get a win, right? And then it's like, okay, well, we're not talking about that. Simple's having a fun time. Get you a girlfriend that, you know, looks at you like Simple looks at such and such after a 3K on the beat. Like, it's like, come on, guys, can we keep it consistent for more than fucking 48 hours here or something? It's like, so new with this team, man.
Yeah, and I mean, it wasn't, you can't expect to beat Heroic with like super fresh team, you know, especially because they are just a consistent team at dealing with, especially teams that aren't super cohesive yet and things like that.
But there's some bad calls they made that they're never going to make again after it happens. Like Alexi B in the B bomb site, and then 3 of them coming out apps, and there's no time for them to rotate back to the empty bomb site, right? Like things like that, where they've left things mega late, and I just feel some of those things, those issues, those mistakes they made are going to help this team really quickly, because they just go, hey, like they'll iron it out immediately. They just go, what happened here? Okay, this can't happen again. Bang, done. But the stuff that's going to slip them up is like, I don't know if you guys call this. This is an OG thing, but I saw after one of the matches, like Rugga standing there talking to Fico and pointing at the notepad with the strats on it. Like, I guess in telling him, hey, you did something wrong. Like, this is what the strats meant to be. Like, that's going to happen in the early days too, when teams are like working out defaults and early strats and different names. You're going to forget shit. I used to have a teammate, and he won't give a fuck that I said this. He knows. When I used to play with Top Gun all the years ago, he would forget the strat all the time. So in Spawn, after I've called a strat that we've dry run 1,000,000 times, I'm having to fucking repeat it instead of getting out the next bit of important information. We're talking high-level Counter-Strike here, where I'm guaranteeing you someone's forgetting something. You know, it's not perfect all the time. So anyway, I waffled on. Let's finish off the CT side here of Navi, and then I think we're going to go to an ad break just quickly. So the CT side, anything exciting here?
Lots of new stuff for JL, maybe point of contention, but that's kind of what you expect. Like him moving to this big team, Emma was always going to get the lion's share of the good spots, I guess. One thing I did notice, yeah, actually JL does keep B short, which means Ema is back to connector, which he's like not really played in GamerLegion as far as I know, because Shuey always loved that spot. So that's the one spot he had new, and when he did play the other day, it did look like Heroic were kind of just bombing up Con a lot. Like I feel like they were trying to expose a little bit like his freshness in that position.
Okay, all right, yeah, nothing too. Look,
But I mean,
looks like
both
JL
those-
has so much new stuff.
Yeah, I mean, but not in
Lots of
the not
demos.
on D side, just on CT. Yeah.
Yeah, but even still, like it's it's gonna take time. It is gonna take time. All right, let's jump into this ad break. I told Lucas we'd keep it at 2 hours tonight, so let's jump into this ad break. We'll come back. We'll finish this off, and then we'll get into some more good stuff.
It's a good vibe, train, 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 train. It's a good vibe, train, 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 train. It's a good vibe, train, 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 train. Good vibe, train,
Best esports odds. VIP program and a variety of bonuses. Fast and easy withdrawals. Bet on every possible CSGO match and tournament, as well as any other esports game. Only on 22Bet.
All right, we're back, and we're going to jump into the conversation with Astralis. And luckily we got Bubzkji here. Bubzkji, tell us everything you know more about Astralis and how you feel about Hunden no longer being a part of the team.
Oh, that's putting me on the spot right there.
Yeah, no,
but,
no, you don't have to do any of that.
Yeah,
but...
I can just give my opinion on it. I think it's very healthy to get Kasper bid out.
Okay.
I think they've, if you realize that the 5 players they've had, I don't think they've done like 100% successful transfer since then. Maybe you could disagree and say maybe blame F, or you could maybe potentially say Device coming back would be that. But like the amount of bad deals that's been done, like if not trying to hate on Sip, like my Sip is my friend and he's getting the bag. Like the contract that he got from Astralis is the best that's ever been in Counter-Strike, in my opinion.
Damn.
Like it's at that point in his career and getting that type of security, it's insane. But yeah, that's the deal that I think really set Astralis back, because I think they budgeted a lot of money for this deal. Hunden, I think, was Kasper Witt's project. I don't think necessarily, how can I say this, Hunden represented Astralis' values in that regard. I think they want a different candidate, but I think Kasper really wanted him on the team. So when he got the boot, I think they were going to be, okay, we do a clean sheet now. We have to reset this project. And I think they found a way to do it themselves. I think.
Is that where you think Glaive went?
I think Glaive. I think I think teams needs to change their players like more often. I think a lot of players are stuck in the same position for way too long. I don't know if you guys. I think it's very normal in the job industry that you change workplace every maybe 4 or 6 years because you get used up with the same old routines, and I think that happened to Glaive. Now he's also sitting on a contract which I think is limiting Astralis economically, because they have 2 most expensive players on the bench probably.
Yeah, okay.
Which is kind of now they have some other solutions with Borups there and Boss, which is way cheaper players. But the question is, can they really can they make a heroic? That's kind of the question. Can they build 1 to 2 years into the future? Then it will be all saved. But if they can't, it's gonna be rough.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't think there's any connection or correlation to how that could talk into the players' roles or positions here, but I like that. I like that little bit right there. Now let's get into some of the positions, because with the players you just mentioned, obviously we have some newer names. Obviously, Borup's not a greener name. Stare is on the radar as a star for a lot of people. But when we're looking at this, Harry, what is the biggest? What have you learned the most about Astralis since you've seen them play this week?
Well, just finally no role clashes, right? Like ever since BlameF and Config came in, there was a lot of people wanting to play the same positions, and now they've maybe gone for roles over Firepower, probably picking up Borup there. Like he's got no new spots, but that's because he already had all the horrible spots on Copenhagen Flames. So So he's and then Stair got a lot of Blame F's old spots. So the Blame F is basically going, especially on T side, he is properly committing to IGLing. Like he's not doing the lurk IGL thing. He's being a proper like pack IGL and setting up Stair quite a lot. Like, and yes, he's still got his numbers, but I think he is trying quite hard to kind of be that proper IGL now and let Stair ideally be as strong as him in the like the rifle duo basically.
Well, that's good. Like I guess because the way we were sitting in game in the past with complexity, it was very like 4-1, very like happy style.
Yes.
Set myself up with a U2, hope that I can make the play, and then the rest of the team has to capitalize off of that. So yeah, with that type of adjustment, that's a good thing to hear about the team. And like if there's no clashes in the roles, and you can have, which we did get for like 1 or 2 maps maybe, was like a good Stair, a good Blame, and a good device performance. So that seems like a pretty strong little trio if they're able to consistently do it, which is obviously the big question for a lot of these teams. Again, with all this stuff, I want to make sure it's clear for everybody. This is just start of the season. Our expectations here, like we'll talk about this a little bit later, Striker, but I know you and I were talking about this the other day. Like I feel people's expectations early on in the season is so fucking warped. It's so out of control of like what the reality should be. We're looking at things like this. This is why we have Harry here to help point us in the right direction. If, you know, are things looking good? You know, are things making sense? That's kind of what we're looking for at this point. Sorry, Bubzkji, what were you going to say?
I just also think that Astralis are in a situation where I don't think the changes they did were bad. I think they were for the better. But everyone around them also just exponentially better signings, you know, like getting higher tier players, Flames, like I think
Cloud9,
Liquid
I
has
guess.
I think Liquid has done a really, really good scouting process in this off split of, I guess we're gonna talk about them at some point. So I just say that other teams upgraded and Astralis did, but I'm just not sure if Astralis upgraded as much as others.
To catch them up enough.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess another thing here is Harry, they played Anubis.
Yeah. So I can't actually remember what they've been banning. Is it Mirage or Vertigo? I guess Vertigo, but I'm not sure.
I think it was Vertigo, right?
I mean, it should be Vertigo, yeah.
Yeah, and they were playing with Blame on the team. Of course, they've been playing fucking Mirage, yeah. But like to see Anubis come in, that was something which I was surprised to see them not playing when a newer map came in. I was like, okay, maybe they would want to seize this, especially as a team is trying to like build back up. It's always nice to have that in your back pocket. Like if you can pick that against teams.
First banning Mirage. I'm just looking back.
This tournament.
Yeah. The first 2 series, they first banned Mirage.
But before they were.
But it was also like one of them was Navi, which is obviously, you know, you're expecting them to ban it. The other one was Big.
So they're going to they're going back to when Astralis was successful and banning Mirage. They've gone, hey guys, when were we the best team in the world? When we didn't play Mirage. Let's just get it out of the pool again. That's fair enough. They're going back in time. But no, if they're changing map pool as well, that's another big thing to be considered coming into the season. Like and leaving something which is such a staple for a lot of players, like a Mirage behind, which is just like an easy place for a lot of people to pick up. You can cut a lot of corners in the most played map, right? So, or one of the most played maps. Okay.
And that was always interesting too. Just like the old team was always so reliant on Ancient. It felt like in every best of 3, like they kind of had one of those map pools where you'd always end up 1-1 just because how good they were at Ancient, and then kind of you could either pick Mirage or Vertigo into them, and they struggled on both of them a lot. And maybe that's why maybe they're trialing like a 7 map pool in practice or something, and then just like it'll be worse on Mirage or Vertigo, and then we can go from there later in the season.
Okay, we'll wait and see how that develops. OG, an entirely new roster. Who have they been putting in the star positions, Harry, would you say?
Fiku and Fasher, I'd say, probably. Like on CT side especially, it's been Fiku and Fasher.
Two like polar opposites here. Like when you think about, obviously both newer in terms of higher tier Counter-Strike, but you know, one's a bit younger, one's a bit older, and then both having to try and deliver here in this team. It is going to be curious. It's been okay so far, but again, Bubzkji pointed this out before. The format also, we get baited. We've been baited in the past, but they've looked okay. Like for what my expectation is. I don't know what you guys have thought. It's been fine.
But
okay. OG. It just is.
It's just because it's on the Astralis slide.
Yeah.
It's totally confused.
Swap for us, Lucas. There we go. Thank you, Lucas. But yeah, OG. It's just this is what I expected. I don't know.
I mean, are you basing that on just the FaZe close map? I mean, everything else was pretty one-sided.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
Okay, I thought. Okay, you said they were kind of good, or whatever. I don't remember what the.
What are we looking at here? Like, what are we expecting to happen? What was the expectation with this roster?
No,
like,
what is zero expectations for sure.
What is best case scenario with this team?
Top 10 maybe.
Top 10. Best case scenario.
I'm not trying to be rude, but like I think OG started in the scene with a really high budget, but I think they've downscaled it a lot and just realized, okay, we can't really compete with FaZe G2 money-wise, so maybe let's just take a notch down and be a team like Apeks, GamerLegion, be smart with our money and try to make like 1 or 2 good tournaments a year.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, top 10.
It
I
is
think
what
is,
it is.
Yeah, top 10 is
top
pretty
10
good.
is ambitious, just because they weren't even top 10 in the previous roster, apart from just very few like.
But they've only
hits
played
when they
3 maps as well.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Hmm.
We don't even have a big
But it's that
sample
nice thing, right? It's when you say top 10, do you mean creeping into the top 10?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you meant
I mean,
with big top
like-
5. Like they're not like consistently top 10 team. Like I think that's probably a bit too ambitious. But
If
I
they're
think
on
they
the
can
cusp,
creep in.
you know, the cusp would be nice. But they'd be just a gatekeeper team, right? Don't they just fall
But
in
I
that
mean,
same
they were
category as
always
big?
that, right? They were always kind of like around top 15. Sometimes they'd get these big wins, you know, but consistently across the year, you know, you look back and they have like 2 good results out of 10 tournaments, you know, or whatever it is.
Okay. Anything else interesting here with OG, or should we jump onto Liquid, which I know should be interesting? Seems like it's going great over there. Lucas, jump to slide 18. Let's do Liquid. Can you, Harry, again, because some people missed it. What do the little ban hammers mean?
It just means their old team used to ban it, basically. So like in this first half of the year, they didn't play the map. That's all it means. Okay.
So there you go, guys. See how simple it is? It's a great little indicator there. So looking at this, mate, when I was watching Liquid play on Ancient and I see Yukindo CT side in Cave and I see Patsy close mid, I'm like, of course. Of course. Like, of course. Of course this is going to work. I've seen both of these players in these positions. Either of them could almost do either of those positions. You could swap them over. I think you'd be fine either way. And it's like, fuck yeah. You see, Rainwaker doesn't feel like a rookie at all. Like, he's just a guy doing his job all the time, safe pair of hands.
He's calm. He's calm in those positions, but he does play those positions where like you have to be that. Otherwise, you know, you're going to fail.
But it's freed up Naf more. Like Naf's taken some of these positions now where he's, you know, getting a little bit aggressive, you know, taking a couple of chances, getting stuck in with a fight. I'm like, you get a better look at Naf, right? You get a more full picture of Naf, I feel. Like he's showing that he can do more as a player. At least that was my opinion. Harry, what are the actual cold hard facts saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly that. It's NAF has come back from being like the main lurker, like in like a 4-1 default. NAF's with the pack now. So it's like, it's kind of similar to what I hope MOUZ do with Frozen and GymFat, because NAF has always been this like really high floor player, right? And then in these lurker roles, sometimes that means you can't always be as impactful because you just have to be so passive a lot of the time. And now it's Rainwaker being the stable guy, and NAF is able to be a bit more explosive, being like the 4th man in the pack, basically.
Yeah, okay. I mean, he talked about it a lot, and like after the FaZe series, you know, that he just feels like more like a star from like the 2018-19 version of Liquid, where, you know, he was in positions where he could get aggressive if he wanted to, you know. So he's feeling a bit more like that.
But also finally, like Liquid, like I think the players have decided the roster changes this time, because some of the ones they did before with the shocks and so on, no disrespect to shocks, but like this time they actually got players who are hungry, haven't experienced major success in recent years, and are really like big talents, and they just pick them up, and it already looks like it's much better than it's ever been for Liquid the last couple of years, I would almost say.
It's the depth factor too.
The depth factor.
Yeah, the depth.
Well, he's always been like known as like a really good scout, and I think is this the first roster move they've made? Because he came in with Yukindo, right? So this is the first time he's been able to kind of flex those GM muscles, and Rainwaker especially is just like, from watching him, it just looks like such a good pickup. Like,
yeah, it's quality.
Just the way they've identified someone who's already so calm in those spots is.
I was considering how up in arms the community was like about a player that they had never heard of because they don't watch, you know, 500 play in the tier 2s. And this is the thing. This is the thing that blows my mind is the general public who definitely weren't paying any attention are going nuts at a team who definitely were paying attention, looking for a player who have done their homework, who have decided based off of what they've watched and everything they know about this guy. And they've probably done their due diligence, and they've messaged other players in the scene and asked about the guy and his demeanor and everything. And people who don't have any of that information, haven't done any of that homework, are like, this is a fucking shit call. You know, what are Liquid doing? And I know it's only one event and also an event with low stakes, but like it seems fine. Like I said, he doesn't feel like a guy who's new to that level of CS. It just felt like he's got so many reps playing European teams. He just plays 50 fucking officials in a month.
I'm even somewhat surprised by how much. I mean, he's played a bunch of like local LANs and shit like that, and so like he has some LAN like actual LAN experience, you know. But I was looking at him play like it was the ancient game that was against FaZe, I think, and he was like in so many places, you know, he was stuck in a position where you just have to wait for your teammates, and you have to know what your teammates are doing all the time so that they can support you and you can react off that information. And he was constantly like looking with his actual eyes like towards the teammate. Okay, what is he doing? Where
the
can I
monitor
peek?
and everything.
Things
Yeah,
like that
okay.
all the time. Like I saw him doing that literally every round where he was in an active position, you know, where like there was some pressure on him and he was constantly checking with the teammates. You know, he's very aware of what everyone else is doing around him, you know. So that was the biggest indicator to me, you know, that he is, I'd say, calmer beyond his experience, you know, even though, as I said, you know, he's got some lot of experience for that.
But,
Okay.
but I also
Mhm.
think it was just smart to realize that I don't think EliGE was doing terrible, but like you have to mix up constantly. Like you can't just have the same group of guys going to events when you've maybe already peaked. How often do we see teams that have peaked for a longer period stay the same 5 and then come up again? I feel like it's so rare.
Pretty rare.
So like you have to realize once you go down that slope, you have to realize, okay, we've won a lot. We have to find some new guys. Like,
So do you think FaZe are there now?
yeah, I think FaZe have been there for a period. Obviously, they have so much individual quality that they could potentially do it, but I just still think maybe I'm not even saying it's Kerrigan who should go. I just think someone should go because they
Shake
need
it up.
maybe make a new atmosphere, get some new people in there to get some motivation back. I just know if you won a lot and you stay with the same 5 guys, I experienced it somewhat in Astralis, that it's just not gonna get the same feeling as when you get a whole new squad. There's gonna be so much more on stake.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, I guess we've come to the end of Harry's little list here. Harry, you got anything else for us, mate? I want to ask, what article's coming next? What next banger should people be expecting at home?
We got a few stat checks coming. So the new MOUZ and the new Cloud9, like kind of doing similar to this, trying to work out how well they fit and few stat things on that. But yeah, nothing too crazy. Just some stat checks, and then I'll actually be in Cologne, so I'm not sure how much will be coming out until after that, to be honest.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, do you want to hang with us for a second while we do this little thing I've put together here, and we can do this as a group of us, and then the final thing we can do is do this Rostermania tier list. Lucas, I'm sharing my screen again with that link that you gave me. Are you able to show my screen? Oh, maybe not. We lost Bubzkji. Bubzkji's gone. R.I.P. Bubzkji. Well, maybe we get him back. I don't know what happened to his webcam. Are you still on TeamSpeak, Bubzkji?
I don't think so.
Oh, he's back.
Wait,
There's-
what's up?
Hey,
Hello.
Hey, man,
you
he's
hear me?
back. He's back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Whoa,
Slide
what
up
is
for a
that
moment.
graph? What is that graph?
Whoa. Well. This right here. I should probably put a link in, but I can't because you'll see all my desktop stuff because I'm sharing my screen right now.
Did we have to like? How much of this did you do from scratch, and how much is this copyrightable?
Bro, can you?
Mate, if you can find it on Google Images, you can use it. That's as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
We'll see what happens. All right. Now, what I did was I put this together today. We got all these little logos of the teams, and I just want to. We got the what is? There's a heat wave at the moment, right? In Europe,
Oh, yeah.
we
Yeah,
got the
kinda.
blast heat wave right now. We got a bit of a temperature checker where the teams are now. Look, I'll show you an example of what we're going to do here. I got the Vitality logo now. Today, before their matchup, they just lost NIP. I would have said they're fucking on fire. They were looking hot. They were owning
They lost
everybody.
like 6 rounds, right? The worst that they did, or something.
Yeah, so now I would probably still just put them in hot. Like they're still looking pretty hot with Flamesy, right? But they lost today to NIP. So do we see the concept now, everybody? Do we understand the
We
concept?
understand the
I just
concept.
need to
yes.
go to the stream in order to see you.
Okay, well, I apologize for that.
That's all good.
Yeah, okay. I want to give everyone a team, and we'll go around the room, and we can put them in a position. All right, let's go. I'm going to do the fun ones here for Mr. Bubzkji. Bubzkji, let's start you with heroic. How heroic? Are they on fire? They're hot? They're mild? They're cold? They're freezing?
I think they're on fire, but obviously it's easy to say when they haven't lost.
Precisely.
Yeah, but I just think they have a very unique group of people right now. I'm wondering how long they can run on this momentum. I just
Okay.
think they really enjoy playing CS. Like they just have, in my opinion, a different atmosphere than other teams.
Okay, all right. Let's go here. Strike, I'll give you big.
Man, you have to
Hard one. Giving you a hard one, yeah.
Seriously, I mean, to be fair, they did better than I expected, just because I thought Astralis would win that series against them. So I would say kind of maybe slightly above mild for the
Slightly above mild. It's
just compared to the expectations, I think they did better than I would expect. I mean, I wasn't expecting them to be competitive against Heroic, same way with Navi, you know, like there's just pretty much a completely new team coming together, you know. But the fact that they beat Astralis, who obviously have gone through changes of their own, but still have some higher expectations, is a good sign.
All right, Harry, I'm gonna be a little bit cruel here. I know how you feel about these international teams. What about OG? Where are you putting OG?
Yeah, I mean, but again, it's the relative to expectations thing. Like they can't be freezing because they've looked better than a lot of people probably expected. With Cold, like he's kind of as we expected, like having lots of people try and leave support roles and be stars against this caliber of players. Like, it's going to be hard, but I don't know. They've looked better than maybe I expected.
Okay, all right. Bubzkji, Astralis.
Yeah, of course you should save this one for me.
Yeah.
I think it's so early to say because they did major changes to their roster.
But how do you feel about them right now? Like what you're seeing, is it good sign? Does it feel like it's obviously in the right direction?
It's obviously it's probably Cold, right? Obviously not too many signs of like complete difference, but they've played so short together that I see the hard time judging them. Like I think if you give me 2 more events, I think it's easier to say, but it's the same as Big. Like if we're putting Big down there, then they need to go there as well, right? So
okay, all right. Let me give you this one here, Striker. Let's go with FaZe.
I mean, just looking back through like results just to refresh.
Well, they won today. Today they looked. This is the thing. This is the conversation with FaZe and G2. Today, FaZe's individual shot and G2's didn't. G2's looked like a bunch of headless chooks on fucking Nuke. I couldn't believe what I was watching. Jesus. But
I'm just trying to remember the Liquid series because that's the one that I watched. And I fucking don't. Oh yeah, that's the one where they lost Ancient. So there was the massive CT sided game, right?
Out.
Their T sides were so bad across the board. I mean, the same thing was for Liquid. It was just huge CT sides back and forth.
I feel all the time. Mild.
Yeah, somewhere along there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you G2 here, Harry.
Oh, they've kind of got to be just below FaZe, right?
Oh, okay.
I think so. I think
with the results,
they've done kind of like similar thing. Yeah, like they both lost to Liquid 2-1, and then like they've only really beaten G2, OG G2, so it's just below FaZe for me.
Okay. Bubzkji, NIP. Big win, confidence building win.
Yeah, but
huge win.
But they did only beat EG and Complexity in order to get that game against Vitality to advance. So I can't really give them.
Fuck, what else are they gonna do, man?
Yeah, I know, but it's so early. Like it's just one tournament. Put them a little bit above Big.
A little bit above Big. All right, we're gonna whack them here.
But man, this list already, we're concluding that G2 is worse than NIP.
No, we're not doing that at all. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. What we're doing is we're saying their form right now.
Okay.
How we feel about this doesn't mean we think that NIP is better than G2.
Okay.
Right, this just means that we feel like right now.
You know how there's like the real temperature, like actual scientifically proven temperature, and the real feel thing. We're doing kind of more like the real feel thing, you know, feels like that.
It's for me in Malta, it's like 38 degrees, feels like 42. You know, like it's like NIP, it's 25 degrees, feels like 40. It's getting hot in here. You know, that's where we're at right now. Where was I? Who was Striker? You were next. Navi.
I mean, I would say somewhere middle of the road. I think it was. I think again, like you can't expect them to beat Heroic, like a stable Heroic on a even if they had a pretty good day, right? So I wouldn't put too much stock into that one.
All right. Complexity, Harry.
Yeah,
this is an interesting one, isn't it?
It's the thing. Kind of beating Nip felt like a good step, and then in the rematch, kind of same old Complexity with the choke came back in. So. Probably
but are you pumped
mild.
for it?
I'm more excited than before, so maybe mild still.
All right, we'll put them around here with FaZe in this little general area. All right, we got a couple teams left. Bubzkji, I'm going to give you. Oh, I know how you feel. Liquid.
Yeah, you didn't dare give me the EG because you know where we'd be going. I think Liquid would be the same as NIP, right?
Okay, around the heart.
Yeah, like just slightly under Vitality.
Okay. All right. We'll raise them up there a little bit. All right. Nice. And then finally, Striker, EG, show some mercy.
I mean, you can. The thing is, like, if we're comparing it to expectations, we already had none. So kind of like where we expected them, but it's got to be somewhere like OG level and cold.
Okay. So you put them down here. There's some players in the server they're shooting, but we haven't seen enough yet to get you excited.
It was close against NIP.
I mean, yeah, they had
who
a chance
did,
against NIP.
and when I say it was close, they didn't win a map, but one of them was close, and NIP Vitality today. So Counter-Strike maps
And
mean
he kind of threw it, to be honest, even the first map.
But okay.
What's
It's just crazy, man. That OG, imagine regardless, he watches this tomorrow and he is like, okay, we didn't play like totally shit, but it was decent. Then he sees he gets compared to EG, like.
It's not about like putting the teams like how good they are compared to each other.
Yeah, I
but it's more
understand,
like,
but like he's legit 1 millimeter above.
you can put them a little bit lower. To
All
make
right,
it feel better. It's okay.
Okay.
It's
There
okay.
we go.
Or
There
like
we
that.
go.
Yeah,
You
there
happy
we
with that? They're joining. They're in a nice little group here. This is a nice little group here. Okay, Lucas, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Bang, perfect, well timed. Okay, that's the end of the temperature check. And I said I was going to have a 2-hour episode. Luckily, Lucas has given us a hard cutoff time of 10:50. So we're going to do the tier list now. Do you want to stay around, Harry, and do this with us, or what do you?
Yeah,
what do you do? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So
free.
Dimitri's done this. Dimitri's worked hard at this. Now, does anybody have a link to the tier list? I didn't grab a link.
Yeah.
I'm going to say anybody. It's either Lucas or Striker. Because it's not me. I'll give you the hot tip on that one.
It's over here.
Okay. Can I control this?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you should be able to move this around, but you have to share it, no?
Do I have to share my
Lucas
screen again?
Lucas has to do it, or you have to share your screen. Yeah.
Lucas,
I mean, you can share your screen, I guess.
Me? Yeah. Okay,
I mean, it's going to be easier than Lucas having to do it, right?
Let me sort it out. Let me sort it out here. So we have a tier list now that we've come up with today. Now all of the roster changes are done. Now we can do them a little bit more.
These graphics are amazing, by the way.
Complete is what I'm looking for. Complete is the word.
We have so much production value today.
Oh, isn't it crazy?
For people to see it.
Okay, so which screen? We're presenting this one here. Okay, you can bring this up, Lucas, for everybody. Let me F11 that. Can everybody see this? I guess you guys in the stream at home hopefully can. But us here. Can I try not F11ing? Yeah, I can try not F11ing. That what better? That's worse.
Oh, he'll fix it. He'll fix it.
How's that? You like that, Lucas? You happy with that one? Anyway, I'm just going to start. All right, here we go. He's up and he's I don't know what he wants me to do, man. Anyway,
it's just
we can see
you
it
can just hear a whimper.
Yeah, let's fly through this. Okay, so as we talked about, we had the heat wave. We're in summer, and what else happens in summer is awesome movies come out. So I hope you all go see Oppenheimer or Barbie or both. You know, maybe you want to do
Mission Impossible. Has anybody seen that?
You guys go see that as well.
Fucking know me. Let's go.
You go see all of them. So we're going to put these teams, these roster changes from the off-season into different categories. You got blockbuster, must-see in cinemas, watching just once, straight to DVD, or it's a flop. Now, let me start off proceedings here by putting Cloud9 in blockbuster. Do I have anybody who wants to bother with any form of a retaliation here?
No.
Is there anything new on this conversation? Because we've all been excited about it. This is the Megazord of Counter-Strike that's coming together, obviously overhyping this to make sure that they can never live up to the expectation. Yeah. But is there anything with the Cloud9 move that we want to dig our teeth into while we're here?
Can we come up with a better... do we know if there was ever a better move that wasn't just like 1-for-1 or whatever?
Maybe hard to come up with.
I think it's interesting.
This is 1-for-1. That's what's so good, right? It's literally the right roles as well. It's everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I also think there's a strong argument that Shiro is better than Simple at this point, like in current form, right? So I don't think you could even change any players for the better. Like,
Imagine leaving Navi and saying, like, I won.
Yeah, I think Shiro right now is in better form, right? Obviously, he's struggling massively.
They should be able to hit the ground much quicker than Navi, right? Like when they go toe-to-toe the first time, Cloud9 should be the favorite.
Yes.
So that right there, that's going to be a fun grudge match. Electronic versus Simple. Holy shit.
Yes.
Fuck yes. I'm excited for that. Okay. Where would we put EG's move? Will we put straight to DVD? I think like...
What?
Well, they didn't make the move.
Mate, these guys are not going to play in 2 months together, I think.
All right, Pimp Jr., calm down. Slow it down a little bit, mate. Come on. Give them a chance, Bubzkji.
We have to give the people what they want.
What do they want? Blood?
See the chat. See the chat.
Well, I can't see the chat. I can't look at it.
Okay, they right flop.
Oh, come on, man. Come on, people's jobs are on the line here, man. We can't.
They're putting them in flop without watching them once, so they can't be in watching once because no one's watching them. They've already decided. Like,
It's
They're a
going
flop, whatever
straight
we
to
say.
the.
Then then there's nobody gonna be in flop.
Okay, fine. I want to revisit this maybe. All right. I think must see in cinemas. Anybody got one for that category?
I mean, Navi got to be somewhere there, right? Just because it's like everybody's fucking lining up to watch that team, right?
Okay. I like the way you've referenced that.
I-
That's nice.
I think Spirit too.
I think-
Spirit like a lot of fun.
I think there's a
You
couple.
put them in the wrong one.
Wait, what? Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay.
There we go.
Spirit as well, Harry thinks. Okay.
I think
Why
there's
Maybe
a,
that feels a bit too high, but I just
Too
think
high?
they're like they're just so
I
exciting,
mean, it is-
right? Like
it is
having
cool, like
another
yeah.
another little set of talents coming through with Chopper is just it's a lot of
Obvious-
fun.
obviously it's a bit boring because it's only one player, but I also think Flames needs to go there. Like even though it's just one change.
In must in cinemas, you wouldn't go blockbuster signing. It's not that much grandeur.
I mean, Dupree. I don't think Dupree was struggling massively.
Okay.
I think he was obviously playing a little bit under his usual level. I think Flames will add a bit of that, but it's nowhere near Electronic and Perfecto coming in to replace Buster, who was a very weird signing, and Nefany, who was also struggling to keep the team together on the T sides.
Okay. All right. Now, the category here, which is going to be a bit divisive, is this watching just once category, because I watch a lot of very good movies, but I won't like rewatch them. I don't know if you guys are weird like me, but like
No,
it's
I'm the same.
I'm not going back and watching something. If I liked it, great. I liked it. I don't need to rewatch Moneyball. I like the movie. It's a long movie. I don't need to rewatch it. You know, so it's a great. I enjoyed it, but so where would we put? Would we have a team that could fit into that level of conversation? Like,
I mean,
think-
it could be like Into the Breach just because they're not going to play like big tournaments, probably.
yeah, but that's like I get what you're saying there with that, but like in terms of watching, like the pickups they have, Bemis and Neofrag, for the players that they had that we didn't know about before, Cypher and Volt, it's like, yeah, actually, like
I mean, it
that's
works out
okay.
role wise, right? Because Neo is kind of like the Cypher. Obviously, he was not
As
he wasn't
aggressive.
putting up the numbers. No,
Yeah.
Neo was very aggressive.
Maybe just not successful. That's
Just
why I
not
didn't
as
have
successful as Cypher
a
like in
good
the
impression.
later time, yeah. So maybe a change of scenery will help him get back to like the level that he was in Sinners, because in Sinners he played the exact same, but he just like even when they were playing against better teams, he was delivering better numbers. So I'm curious if that changes now.
I think the MOUZ one is also interesting. I'm not sure if
Okay.
it should go must see in cinemas, but I think maybe it's the best changes they could have made. I think Torsi is standing on a very interesting position. I think if he can get his like game flowing on LAN on big games, I think they have a really, really good team.
Torji is obviously the biggest weakness in that team right now, for sure. I know we haven't seen. Are we? Is it Yimfat? Are we doing
Yimpat.
it?
Yimpat.
Okay. All right. I'll work on that one. Yimpat. Okay, we'll
Yeah,
work
let's
on it.
go.
We'll do the
Perfect.
finish. We'll get a little bit going with it. But when I watched him play, I know it was online, but he looked comfortable, right? He looked competent. And like I said, I know it's online. There's a lot. He's still quite young, but hey, I think that's some fun changes over there. If MOUZ had changed Torji as well and had like an AWPA that is like hot right now, I think like that would change, and I would maybe even consider like Blockbuster just from the I can resell it. Stewie reunites with MOUZ, where like I could really sell it. It'd do great. We'd have some great advertisements for us. But we'll keep them must see in cinemas. Now, Harry, what do you think about Furia? Where do they fall for you? In Brazil, it's selling out cinemas.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are going to go and see it, aren't they?
Yeah,
I think it's must see in cinemas just because it's so interesting. The new
because
style,
it's fallen
right?
though. Could we argue it's a blockbuster signing?
I mean, that's too much. I mean,
Yeah,
I've already
wise.
kind of set the bar by putting Spirit that high, but I don't
Well,
know.
we can
I
move
think
Spirit
Furia
if you
probably-
want. We can have that conversation. I'm open to move things around. I'm
Isn't
not
it-
locked in my ways.
Isn't it one of the
Mm.
biggest transfer of all time in Brazil? Like obviously it's just a local
Yeah, money-wise, yeah.
money wise, but also just like they finally reunited. These guys, like Fallen has always been on the opposite side of the Yuri Kisarato combo.
I
And-
think just like I would whack it up here, not because I think it's anywhere near as good from a player perspective as Perfecto
But for
and
the name
Electronic.
value
Yeah.
alone.
Exactly. And I like the angle that Bubzkji's starting to take here. Like the fact that now you have the best Brazilian player, Quesarado, now with the guy who's fucking done it all, who has given them what they have today and has the last bit of juice to give, merging into what should be
And-
Go Tanks, I think it is, when Trunks and
They've also had an insane story, like with all the going back to MIBR where they tried to buy them out and so on. So they've like tried to get together for a really long time, but it's just never happened before now.
Okay. What do we feel about? I don't really know a lot about Bro, but I'm gonna say having to fill the void that Burrows has left, it's probably going to be a flop over there at Monty. Like I feel that, and I would probably do this with GamerLegion as well.
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
Yeah, like yeah.
But Nilan won the back there though, like leaving EG to get to an actually team that can maybe challenge for some minor titles in Europe is actually a blessing in disguise for him.
Yeah, well, I guess just getting out of that situation that you're in with EG. Like this is the thing. It must be so fucked for somebody like him now trying to navigate this scene. It's like, where do I even go? Like I did what I thought was meant to be like helping my career. And now, I don't know, maybe it has helped his career because it's established that he's willing to in-game lead in English. So yeah, I guess if it brings him into an option in the market like that, then maybe it will in the long run. What do we think about complexity with EliGE? That's a pretty big signing. Like from a North American perspective, it's a very big signing.
But I just think it's a little bit late, right? To do this. EliGE hasn't looked the best in the last couple of years with Liquid.
Sure.
I think it's an upgrade because Fang didn't really unleash his potential. So obviously an upgrade, but I don't think it's a blockbuster signing.
Okay. Well, where do you guys see it? Striker, Harry, where would you put it? Must see in cinemas, watching just once?
I mean, if we were going at it from kind of like a straight upgrade situation, I mean, it has to be somewhere high up there for sure, just because it is such an obvious replacement. Even Harry was talking about it before.
Well, now he's
with the
back
positions.
in star roles too. You know, we might see more output.
I'm sure he's going to feel more comfortable. It's a change of scenery for him after such a long time in Liquid, and Complexity got just a much better piece than Fang was, you know. And then that's not even something that Fan can get upset about. It's like this is basically like the best American player, you know.
Sure.
So,
yeah. Must see in cinemas then. I guess that would be.
Yeah, well, they're NA's team now as well. So
true. Look at this, boys. Ready for this combo? Bang, bang, bang.
Wait, what?
Okay.
I'm a little bit delayed on the stream here.
OG and Big straight to DVD.
I feel that.
Yeah, I can understand. I can see that. I mean,
but BMS and Neofrag to ITB. How is that?
It was just my logic with that. They were probably
right.
just actually going to watch them once.
Either you need to move them down or they need to go up.
No, you're right. You're right.
I feel like we need to change the middle
what do you want to say?
Something I don't know what it should say, but we should change it to something more fitting, I guess.
For the film buffs or something. Something a little bit more
yeah,
niche.
that's actually pretty good. Like for the niche, for like a niche.
What is it like?
What do you?
Neon, like like real artsy stuff.
You know, it could be like a Pulp Fiction. You know, there's like 50% people love it, 50% people hate it. You know, just like a controversial thing.
What do you want me to put there? That doesn't help me, Strike. I can't write 50% of the people love it, 50% of the people hate it.
Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction.
Christopher Nolan, right there. And it's like kind of itchy.
Let's just put Ed. No, I need a better term here. Fuck. I can't even check the chat.
It's like indie movie
indie
or whatever.
Film.
Indie movie. Yeah.
Indie movie. Is it spelled like that?
Vibes.
Is it spelled like that? How is it spelled like that?
Yeah, that should be right.
Is there a save button? I'm just gonna close. Okay, cool, nice, cool. That's great. This is an indie movie.
Okay, let's see.
Cahnges to Apeks. That's an indie movie.
Like
and Spirit too. Spirit's such an indie movie.
Bang.
Let's
now
go.
we're cooking.
There we go. We found a better
let's
one.
go.
Okay. I think Cahnges, I heard from Lens, the guy from Big, like a Pro League season or two ago. He was like, yeah, this kid, like he's on people's radar. Like he's somebody who people are talking about.
It was like the second choice after.
No,
it was Valde. No. Valde when they were picking Valde.
Okay. That's interesting. What else we got here? Anything leaping off the page with an obvious category, guys? I think like
Hampus back to the must-see in cinemas.
Okay. Yeah, the return. I like it. Yeah, he's back in business. What about
more exciting than like a Fnatic OG team? Like, are they 2 tiers above that? NIP. Like, I feel like they're just like it's these international teams again. Like they're kind of all the same to me. Like they're like slightly above like Fnatic tier.
But we're just like judging from like what did this player replace, right? And they obviously ran dead with EliGE. It looked like, and now they got their favorite IGL back. So I just
Swedish
think it's better.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I guess the thing is, it's like Hampus's return, and they got a big win today. And I know, again, it's a confidence building win. It's not one that I'm going to sit here and say, NIP, they're one of the best Counter-Strike teams in the world now. No, but in the context of what it is for them, it's good. But in terms of them being, I don't know, I'm more excited about what NIP could be than I am of what a Fnatic OG Big or Into the Breach could be.
Right.
More
I got
potential
you.
for sure.
Yeah, but that comes down to Brolin and Rez and everybody being able to frag either. It doesn't even have to be consistent. It's like if Brolin just has a bad map, then Rez can't, and if Rez has a bad map, then Config can't. You know, like there just has to always be they have enough firepower to have enough people outputting. Would we say that Liquid is an indie movie because of the type of picks they went for? Like they definitely weren't the most obvious picks.
Yeah, it was like,
especially with.
but at least move them to the left, so it looks like they were.
Well, the first one in the indie column.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well
There's
that was easy.
there's like the indie movie that makes the Oscars, right? That's the one.
Yeah, well, it's the Patty move as well because his rank's been so bad this year. It's like the director flopped last year and then just come straight back.
Yeah, but that's a good point too. Because if Patsy can play like Patsy could play, like we've seen, flashes of that, he's such an exciting player. He's a really fun X Factor player to watch. Him and Yakinra on the same team is mind-boggling, really.
So he's like Patsy's like the Brendan Fraser of The Whale or whatever. Like I don't know if I haven't actually seen that movie, but like everybody's saying it's amazing, and he's like Brendan Fraser's back, like after 20 years or whatever.
Yeah, after doing The Mummy, and that was okay. Where do we feel a team like Falcons falls into this year?
I mean, I like them a lot. I like them high, either indie or must-see even. Like, I just like this move a lot just because of the sheer amount of talent that team now has.
With what they could do, this is a team I'd like to see. Like, I'd like to go and you give them the time. But if they turn it into a franchise and it turns out to just start waffling on like fucking Marvel after 10 years, then I'm out. So, like, I'll see it in cinemas. But if the quality goes down and they're just trying to pump out a lot more for bucks, I'm out. But this is an exciting group of players here. I think MBK and Body have a lot of responsibility here with these young players because these are some of the names of the future that are right here. So this is an exciting one. What else do we have here? Yeah,
I mean, Astralis is the next biggest one, I guess now.
Yeah, I don't even know where they fit though. Borup's an indie pick, but Stairs a must see in cinemas.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
West
still.
I don't think you can rate them above in like when you have Donk and like some of the most interesting talent in Spirit.
So you'd still put them here.
Yeah, like I would put them in the movies.
Yeah,
like I think Stairs like a good solution, but like it's not like Borup is an unknown talent.
And there's also the Blame IGL kind of caveat to that as well.
I don't know what to do with MIBR. I kind of feel like it's a straight to DVD movie. Like they were actors in a popular film recently, but they weren't the main actors. You know what I mean? Like I'll recognize them. I go, hey, that was the guy from FURIA, but I don't know how much of a like I'm excited.
I would do the
to
same
see...
thing with like Fluxo.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We can do that.
Maybe even Imperial.
I'm excited to see what these Brazilian teams do with their new configurations. I would say more so. I want to see if Drop and Safe can be different players outside of the Gary and Art way of playing the game. And in terms of Imperial, I think this is the last chance for both Phelps and Henny. Henny, I think is aging out, but Phelps, I was thinking about him the other day. I was like, how has he had so many chances in these teams and nothing ever really has come to fruition? He was meant to be the next Fur fucking 5-6 years ago. Never happened.
I'm not trying to be rude, but I think really Imperial has to go to flop if you put Volt and Nilan as like a flop.
Hey mate, I'll go with you. I'm there.
I think Fluxo at least have tried to like get some new players, like a new combination. I think like we've seen all these old combination of Brazilians before, and it has never really worked.
I mean, Zevi's at least interesting. I don't know much about the young guy who came from Red
He's brand new, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Temp, what is it? What is his name? T9, whatever. I don't know how it's pronounced.
It's a funny one.
Turn whatever.
What do we think about Sprout? Wonderful is the redeeming quality here, I imagine. Like, I don't know what to think, really. Like,
will he have a chance to be the redeeming? Like, when, like, what kind of qualifiers against all of these, like, really exciting teams? Like, how are they going to get far enough that he's going to be able to show, like,
yeah, I know what you're saying.
I don't know. I don't even know if this is like an indie movie, just because there's also, let's say, if we add Alpha to that conversation, because he's not really added to this, but he was also added kind of recently,
not that long ago, but recently,
that it should be counted into this like shuffle of Sprout. But it's still a kind of like, it's a lot of unproven talent, but none of it like being particularly exciting or like anybody really talking about them. So I don't know if they deserve the indie movie one. It's
probably straight to DVD
at best. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we just have
like the wonderful one really saves it, just because like if there was no wonderful, I would just go straight to flop 100%. But wonderful is at least one piece that they can rely on to some level, right? And then if one of these other two guys, you know, if we ignore Zyphon because he's been there, if Alpha or Spook end up delivering, then okay, then that we're getting somewhere at least. You know, maybe this is a team that's one change off being like a top 20 contender. You know.
Sure. Okay. We got two left here. We've got Mia with VP. Is that an indie movie because he's a bit older and he's been brought back, and we all thought that Mia's career was over?
Yeah, get the nostalgia going.
I think he has the
I think
strength
it's
to
exciting.
You think it's an exciting? I think it's so long.
I think it's if they'd have kept Kicker and Norbert, they would have lacked that like spark, right? That's what they wanted with Chiron to kind of be a replacement with the spark, and then I think Mir can be that spark as well. I think
maybe Mir is the Brendan Fraser because he's much older, much coming back.
It's been a while, but
Brendan Fraser.
how much fun would it be if he came back as well?
A lot of mention. Well, I think the thing is, because we know how many good players there are from that part of the world, it's interesting to see Mia as the one who was an interesting player, but we heard that he might be difficult to work with, right? That's one of the things that was around him, that he could be one of these difficult players to work with. But the fact that he's given this opportunity, you would hope that's not the case. But I just where to see them, like I would, for me, it is just an indie film, because not only just the way they play, the pickup, like you think maybe they'd go for newer names, but they're going for someone's a bit more established. Maybe that's because they have the likes of Flit and Fame, and they think that they already have some of the younger guys in the mix. I don't know. We'll whack them in indie film. Fuck it.
Yeah.
And finally, Movistar Riders with Just.
That team is like, have you ever seen a team fall so much in level after losing just one player?
Sampaius, yeah.
Yeah, they lost.
Lose, though.
Yeah, he was like super important, obviously, but I didn't realize he was that crucial because they've been, from my understanding, struggling massively.
The issue before was DaViG and Deaths, I think, were both like, you could only have that team with one of them, and they had with both, and they lost Sampaius. So then they were left with DaViG and Deaths. And then, you know, obviously there's been changes over that time. I was like, you know, Alex and Moppo is trying to get the most of them. Martinez has had glimpses, but he's definitely no like one-for-one replacement for Sampaius in this team. So I don't know. I wouldn't say it's a flop. It's just he
has a lot of responsibility to fix, like,
in that team.
Yeah, obviously, I think the fans expect, and he's not really coming in with super hot stats or anything like that.
No, well, this is the thing. This is kind of a weird crossover having Just in this team, isn't it? Isn't he Portuguese?
Yes, but obviously it's a little bit like Danish, Swedish, but
yeah,
maybe he can learn fast.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of overlap in the Iberian scene, so I don't think it's particularly like something.
But he's just an older
ordinary
guy, though. It's weird to see this this move, isn't it? Like, I guess like the Portuguese scene, the best Portuguese team now has the core of FTW, isn't that? This Aristalse, it's UJerks and History. Story, not History. History is the fucking Brazilian one. History, Story, Exam. What else do you guys have to do? Homework. Where are we going to go with these names? 2B Pencil. Okay, that's great, isn't it? It's a lead pencil name. Yeah. How do we feel about this, gentlemen? And on reflection.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if we were just to go by like how good a move is,
if it would be 1 to 20,
isn't necessarily. Yeah, like that's what people need to keep in mind. Like we just went with more like a
it makes it more fun this way,
relatable, funny kind of way to go around it, rather than just ranking them from 1 to 20. So I think if we were to do that, that would have looked differently. I mean, FURIA wouldn't be probably as high up. It would be somewhere middle of the road, probably.
If I was going to do it like, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 type of thing, my 1 would be Cloud9.
Cloud9, yeah.
My 2 would probably be Vitality. And then my 3, without seeing any results, so I couldn't cheat and say Liquid, would probably have been Falcons, because I'm excited about the players in that roster. Or I could just cheaply just take EliGE because of how much of a upgrade he would be.
Yeah,
to
I mean, compared to their teams, I mean, EliGE is probably the easiest, like, to see an upgrade in. Like after Cloud9, let's say.
Yeah. Shooting MOUZ is
How would it, by the way, MOUZ, I mean, I saw an interview that MOUZ did with Impact, and he said, and I mean, this also fits with what he was playing in NXT. He said he is basically a ROPS. How do we feel about him and Frozen? I mean, being in the same team now. I mean, it feels like they're going to have to
didn't used
switch
to
around. But
Frozen didn't used to be a ROPS.
right?
Yeah, but when he moved into those Rob's positions, that's where he kind of got unlocked a little bit more, and he got into the top 20, you know, and like finally got his shining spots, you know. So I'm
I
curious
think it
about
could
how
be good
this
for
will affect
Frozen,
it.
honestly.
What's right?
Because like when like every event we like look at like we were there for the top 20. Like for looking at Frozen stats, it's always like he has such good stats, but like how many kills he gets in losses, how often he saves, and
Right.
things like that. Like I think being in a more aggressive role will use his talent better. I think it can do exactly what it's doing for NAF. I think he's too good a player to be like he's too good a player to get his kills whether they win or lose. Like he needs to be more active in getting MOUZ wins, I think.
I can see that. Okay, that's pretty good.
But that's interesting because then if I consider, like, let's say that Frozen is taking more responsibility in certain areas of the game, you already have Exertion, who's quite outspoken and also likes to be involved in a lot of, and then you have Shui also from an in-game leader perspective, who is quite active. So I guess not crazy active. I know your NAF reference was a good reference. I think it's like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You can do a little bit of everything. You're not unbridled, but you take your moments, you take your chances. That's because I like, it's not that I hate Frozen in the more ROPS stuff that he was doing with MOUZ before. It just felt like he could have been doing more, right? Like it's great that he can pull off those clutches and stuff. It just felt like it'd be great to have him impactful earlier in the round. I feel like someone else could maybe close, maybe not as well, but they could.
I mean, they already have, especially now with Sui coming in, they already have the aggressive pieces, right? I don't think that's necessarily super necessary. And as Torji, especially if he's going to be kind of the same, kind of more of an aggressive, rather than more aggressive piece that he used to be, you know, early on, then they already have the pack, you know.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's
like
true.
So those two are just going to be on the sides.
Yeah. Okay.
Just a slightly more active type of liking, I think, because it'll be good for Impact to be comfortable as well. Like it's very easy to bring in a 16-year-old and make him anchor and fill all the positions, but he's good enough. He deserves to get his lucky spots, I think.
Okay, Lucas, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, just a heads up, so you know to take that down. Nice, thank you very much. Well, I think we're at the end of the show. I think we're done. Nice. I have to do something. I don't think I thanked them at the start of the show. I got to thank the sponsors. I didn't bring them out at the start of the show. I was waffling on too much. SteelSeries, got to shout out to them. Peripherals, headsets, wearing one of them right now. Awesome for wireless. I know it's wired right now, but I'm about to unplug this and walk to the kitchen. Fantastic piece of kit. And also 22Bet, remember to gamble responsibly. And then we've had a bit of a show that's been all over the place tonight. We've done calendars. We've done multitudes of different presentations. We've had Harry join us and hang out. We've had Bubzkji here with us. Let me just quickly check out. There was one person who wanted to know how you do your hair, Bubzkji. You know, there was a couple of questions for you, but one of them was about your hair.
The hair?
Yeah. Do you have any special techniques?
A comb, I think, is a good start.
Good place to start.
Yeah, I think you can get those pretty cheap. Maybe on Alibaba if you're lucky to save some money there.
Damn, even cash advice from Bubzkji.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, and then I just use. Oh my god, I'm not gonna sit and explain this shit. It's not a fucking. There's a million guys better than this doing it out there on YouTube.
What about this one for you? If Astralis calls for you again, will you consider joining?
No.
Okay.
That was fast.
No, it wasn't. It's also if FaZe calls, whoever calls, it doesn't really matter.
Okay, you're not playing, not even CS2.
Nah, I don't think I know what it takes to become good.
You don't have the source right now.
No, not really. I don't want to join a team and just be like that guy in the corner, just stealing a paycheck and not really being it. If one guy is not 100%, you can instantly feel it.
Sure. Okay. Fair enough. Someone wants to know if you still play with your legs up on the monitor.
Yeah. It's the good old.
Knee up. Respect.
Yep.
Respect. Okay. Who's your favorite co-caster on TV2 and why is it Risk?
Pimp.
Yeah.
Pimp is even more savage on Danish because there's not there's not so many. There's not even, because in Denmark we obviously very safe towards heroic and Astralis in a way, but so if one guy fails on an international team, there's obviously not any, let's say, let me get a random team. There's not a lot of GamerLegion fans, so sometimes people are just really savage when they say, man, this guy's fucking some ass or some shit like that.
Proper tabloids.
I would say it as well, but obviously it's just a little bit more friendly and joke based on Danish.
Sure. It's more colloquial, right? Well, obviously, yeah, because you guys, the rapport and stuff, right? So with it, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, when you say he's more savage on data, it's just the tap does it. He can be a bit more unfiltered because people get the tone and everything a little bit better for the rapport of what you guys having going on. Okay. All right. Well, Risk will be very disappointed with that answer, but that's great to hear. You're gonna have to get up for us next time we talk to you, like the best TV2 Pimp on air quote, like the most savage. Like if there's just one that it's just fucking sticks out over all of them, that could be fun. Okay. All right. Great. Well, Bubzkji, where can people see you next? You're gonna be on TV tomorrow?
Yeah, TV tomorrow. Gonna take my car and
Nice.
drive to Odense to get there, to get to the studio.
Go say hi to Lucas.
Yeah, he will also be close by. Sometimes I
Yeah.
use the HLTV office to get my PC when I get too depressed of not having a PC anymore. I miss the pro life where you had a prac room at my hotel.
Set up everywhere.
Yeah, now I have a bunk bed and a shitty bathroom. So
Oh, you have to share rooms.
no, there's a bank, but it's just there's a hotel chain called Cabin, which just has bunk beds in all their rooms, which is kind of ass.
Okay. All right. I see. All right. We're done for tonight. We might be doing another show on the weekend just before I have to leave for Cologne. I will work that out and we'll get you guys some information. Prof should be back very, very shortly. Thank you for Harry. Thank you to Harry, not for Harry. But also thank you for Harry for coming on the show tonight. Harry, that's great. I love to see that that it's good that somebody is doing the work so I don't have to. So I wanna say thank you on behalf of me and hopefully all of the other lazy broadcast talent who can have someone like you did the hard work for us.
Yeah, it'll just be good to get the DM after someone says something wrong in a cast. It'll be my fault. But
there you go.
We'll
right?
see.
Well, we just point
happened
out there you go. The liability as well. Not only do we not have to do the research, we don't even have to worry about if we're right or if we're wrong. All right, this has been another episode of HLTV Confirmed. Thank you everybody for tuning in tonight, and we'll see you all next time. Good night.
Best esports odds, VIP program and a variety of bonuses, fast and easy withdrawals. Bet on every possible CSGO match and tournament, as well as any other esports game. Only on 22Bet.
Here's a good vibe, train, 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 train. Here's a good vibe, train, 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 train. Here's a good vibe, train, 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 train. Good vibe, train.